The good kind. Curse, you're from India? I did not realize that. Hell yeah. Yeah, so their focus tree, as you can see here, is pretty big. Let me make sure the music is going properly. Yeah, it's just a slow song. Alrighty. They've got a huge tree, obviously, after the update. So you've got like the far right caliphate, like you could go Islamic, which is pretty wild. You got the political trees for the various parties of India. You got the tree for the current leader and the current political situation for India, which we'll start with. You got the giant economic tree that goes 100 different ways. Actually, it's over here. And then you've got the military tree. You've also got one for foreign policy. And then you've got one for your internal issues with religion, which is also in decisions. So you got issues with the Maoists, who are actually still to this day very influential and powerful in northeastern India, who are very radical. I mean, they're the kind of communists who will kill people and bomb things to get what they want, not the kind who, you know, argue for things. Let me skip this song. I need to make a new playlist so I don't have this song on there. Let's see. We've got issues with religion internally, of course. We've got, obviously, the Kashmir problem and the Pakistan rivalry, which has been in full force for quite some time now. The border clashes with the Chinese, of which there were several in the past, including almost wars. Not quite. They were small conflicts, but India has had full-on border skirmishes, if not outright wars, with Pakistan and China. A lot of it's happened up here in Kashmir, which is a heavily contested area claimed by Pakistan, China, and India, including regions that aren't controlled by all three of those powers. And then there's been border clashes with the Chinese, I think in the east as well. What's up, Master? If you are Indian and I'm saying anything wrong, feel free to say so. But point being, India's got very hostile relations to basically all her neighbors. China in particular is seen as probably India's biggest rival. They've been very hostile for pretty much all of history. Pakistan's rivalry is a bit more complicated given they used to be the same country. Obviously, when India formed, the country did split into two, with Pakistan being the Muslim nation and India being the Hindu, as well as a couple of religions, but primarily Hindus. And then Bangladesh was formed later. Bangladesh originally, I believe, was actually a part of Pakistan, right? Or something like that, and it rebelled for its own independence. My Indian history is like moderately there, but not fantastic. Won't call all of history, as China relations went really bad after 1950s. Even after independence, I thought that India was pretty hostile given the radical nature of their government. Because I mean, when India was created, China was Maoist, right? At that time, I believe. Or was it? It wasn't before, I don't think. Either way. Alrighty, let's read out the national spirits first. We are a Commonwealth member with all the other post-British colonies. We have cheap labor. Born out of the historical patterns of colonial exploitation and massed unskilled labor, India's workforce remains abundant and inexpensive. Though its labor surplus has spurred post-independence industrial growth, it continues to feed into a cycle of inequality and social unrest that puts national stability on shaky grounds. We've got a highly corrupt military industry. The complex legacy of India's License Raj era, characterized by heavy regulation and red tape, still lingers in the defense industry. While reforms in the 1990s opened doors for civilian industry expansion, the military sector remains a web of corruption and inefficiency, traced back to opaque procurement processes and a lack of accountability inherited from past decades. India's got a really big corruption issue in their politics, in their voting, in their industry, and basically all aspects of life. It's not as bad as it used to be, I believe, but it's been a hugely systemic issue, which is why we have level 7 corruption right now. Vajpayee, he's an interesting guy, actually. His history is pretty wild. The shadow of India's partition and the hastily organized military structures that linger over the armed forces. Coupled with bureaucratic inefficiencies and a lack of modern coordination methods, this results in a disorganized military apparatus. However, these shortcomings make it apparent where improvement is most urgently needed, slightly reducing the resource drain of restructured military doctrines. So our military is not doing very well, no surprises there. Sino-Indian tensions. As Asia's two most up-and-coming economic and military powers, India and China make up natural rivals. Add to this predisposition to rivalry, a history of border tensions, and China's partnership with Pakistan, and that rivalry has the potential to evolve into much more substantial animosity. So they haven't done it yet in 2000, but in the future, in our own timeline, obviously, to present day, one of China's big global foreign policy and economic initiatives was their Belt and Road, which essentially the idea being is to increase infrastructure in developing countries and get them reliant on China economically and indebted to them. That's the not polite way of putting it. The polite way of putting it is economic investment in foreign infrastructure in order to facilitate trade towards the East and China. They've built a ton of roads and a ton of infrastructure through Central Asia, like the old Silk Road region. Huge amount of building in Pakistan as well. They've subsidized a huge amount of roads there and stuff like that, which is one of the reasons, among so many, India continues to hate its neighbors. I mean, they are working together. China's Belt and Road Initiative did also prioritize Africa and South America too. It wasn't just neighboring regions. And as a result, a lot of Pakistan, the northern portion, I believe, right, got developed as a result of those deals. So given our two big rivals are working closely together, we will be playing very hostile to both of them. I don't think I want to go like a very warlike route with India, but if I recall correctly from the way some of these decisions and dynamics work, we might get a war regardless, so we will see. So we do lose emerging support due to that. We have US aid, which is that we're getting money for being extremely poor from a US-led, call it a charity fund, development fund technically. Multi-ethnic state, Indian regionalism. India's vast cultural and linguistic diversity, a legacy of its rich history and countless kingdoms, has often manifested as regionalism that complicates national governance. This mosaic of local interests has historically undermined centralized political power, making cohesive policy-making an arduous task. Yet there exist various paths, both conciliatory and forceful, to navigate this complex landscape and potentially forge a more unified national identity. That's one of our decision mechanics, so we will deal with certain regions, I believe, being hostile or friendly towards the government, and then our focus tree works a bit on that too. Water shortages. This is something China suffers from very badly as well. The acute water scarcity in India, worsened by unsustainable agricultural practices and rapid urbanization, has far-reaching consequences. It not only strains social stability and governance, but also severely hampers military operations and logistical support. Despite its dire current state, concerted efforts in water management and infrastructure development can significantly alleviate these crippling effects. We are a major power. We have a solid national grid. And we are a nuclear state, obviously. We do have nuclear weapons, as does Pakistan and China, making the situation even more dangerous. Personally, I think our politics are the most complicated shit because people literally believe different things, even in literally two different cities that are close to each other. That's a lot of countries, to be fair, Master. It can just obviously be more harmful in certain ones rather than others. India and China could have been the bestest friends, but China didn't want friendship. No, China doesn't have friends, they have vassals. And did not want to renounce their claims over our territory. It would have been the strongest partnership in history. Maybe. Long term, sure. Your politics are just too similar in my opinion, right? I mean, China is like an authoritarian, whatever the fuck they are at this point, hybrid socialist, pseudo-communist state. They're not really even communist though, are they? They're like, their coast is capitalist, and then their government in the interior is like command socialism, I guess. So, I don't know, your economic and political systems are so different, I think it'd be a little difficult, but the class is on India, so if you want to know something, just ask, for sure. If you know anything interesting about it, or whatever we're doing, feel free to talk about it too. Let's start with our tech. Microprocessors. We will do neural networks. Actually, we'll do 2D. Come back to that. We'll go for construction too. This is going to be a semi-role-played game, by the way, folks. So I will be making very realistic decisions, and as such, we are going to be sticking to fossil fuels. India is famous for not doing anything to try and go green, which they justify as not having been able to develop economically like other Western powers, and they want to utilize, like, you know, the cheap, quick way to get there, to catch up, which is understandable. But compared to countries like China and the US, they really don't trade a lot of carbon emissions. I mean, it is a lot, but compared to the big boys, it's not comparatively. But they're one of the countries that doesn't even pretend to be going very green, generally speaking. don't have any pre-made fighters, and I can't build those, so we'll just hold off then. All of our equipment is really outdated, so I'm just going to start producing stuff that, frankly, we can have forever, and it'll work. So we're going to go really heavy into support equipment, I think. We'll make some suicide drones, I guess. They should have starting aircraft models. I don't know why they don't. Oh, we don't have the XP to make them. That's weird. I mean, they did import a lot of their aircraft for a while, but I thought in 2000 wasn't there already like they were making their own aircraft? Look that up. I know they have a lot of Russian aircraft. Yeah, they do. No, they really don't produce a lot of domestic aircraft. I thought they did more. Wow, yeah. The first fighter that went into production that they make domestically was in 2001. They make some of their own aircraft, their helicopters as well, but those came later in the 2000s. Holy shit, I didn't realize how reliant they were on foreign air. Shit. Alrighty. Well, that does check out then. Should have kept the emperor. What an interesting world it would be if China was still a monarchy with a mandate of heaven. Can you all imagine that? How interesting that would be, generally speaking. China's market has socialist tendencies. Oh, definitely. Depends on where it is at. I mean, like it's such a strange thing. Like they develop fully capitalist systems in certain regions, right? And then the rest of it is very different. And I mean, they have like very much a command economy coming from the CCP in many ways with like state-owned businesses, but they function within the system of capitalism just in like a very weird hybrid form. I mean, it's very tough to define even like what China is ideologically, economically, or politically at this point. It's very, they've kind of attempted to stay true to some of their founding principles to pay lip service, but they've also hybridized so much. Apart from, yeah, we don't really win environmental, but we have really good when it comes to hydropower. Sure, yep. Main problem in 2000s are rural and urban divide, water access. Yeah, education for the rural region of India at this point in history is just atrocious. Unstable agriculture, China-Pakistan relations, Bangladesh in constant concern as potential migration waves. Yep. All the flooding and poverty. Russia and India have a very good relationship. Very close relationship. A lot of economic ties. A lot of military ties. India buys a lot of its military equipment from Russia historically, I believe. Even in the Cold War, right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. So, realistically, we have never hated the Russians, even after what happened to Ukraine. The general people and government still likes Russia. Yes. Yep. They're very well liked. I'm going to start with Indian politics. Indian politics is at the turning point of one millennium to another. How will its history be built? I'm going to play realistically, so we're going to start by going through some of those initial focuses for Vajpayee's government, which is, of course, the BJP, which is the conservative party in India. There are more conservative parties, but it has been one of the most competitive of like, it's not far right. Portions of it are far right. It coalitions and works with far right groups, but overall, the BJP is just more kind of conservative. The rough translation for an American, I guess, would be the Republican Party, but that's a gross mischaracterization of what it is. Just think of them as the conservative values party versus the Indian National Congress, which is the much more democratic sort of liberal party in some ways. Indian politics, much like many countries, especially Asian ones, don't have their parties and ideologies translate very well to the West. But in the most simplest terms, that's the way to put it, I would say. I think that would be semi-accurate. Education really only took off after the pandemic, where the government brought us internet to rural areas for online classes. Yeah, India's rural populace is dramatically different than the big cities. There's a lot of similarities between India and China in that way. Both of them, as developing huge countries, have focused to basically disregard most of their agricultural interior just to prioritize economic and industrial development in a few key cities, which, to be fair, has worked. So you can't deny that. Alrighty, let's look at where we have infrastructure. I think we're probably going to hyper-industrialize. Okay. And then we will hyper-industrialize Mumbai. And then we will do the same for... Okay. Pure civilian industry. We have more. Holy Christ. I like the idea BJP represents. In what way, Cameron? India currently is in a situation, bad party or worst party. BJP right now have the best SOE. Yeah, I mean, Modi is a little questionable in a lot of ways. His history is pretty questionable. He's very far right, you know, but he's charismatic and his economic policies have been pretty effective. I mean, hasn't India sustained a pretty high GDP growth, which would be hard not to do, frankly, for what they are, but growth, India, time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, his economic policies have been seen as pretty successful, right? Yeah. After the pandemic, they popped back really hard. They've been maintaining 7 to 8% GDP growth a year, which is pretty good. Oh. Could have followed Devin. Okay, we have to build even more. We probably want to build some more fossil fuel plants. Build a few more to the south of Delhi. I'm going to basically only stay with fossil fuels until really late game if we even get to that point. Do a bit more on infantry equipment, and then I'm going to grab some more suicide drones just because we can make nothing else, I guess. Navally, India has actually developed a pretty solid navy for Asia. It doesn't contain China, but it is pretty large. Let me look. How big is their active fleet in recent times? India's really tried to become like a full naval power. They haven't had the resources and invested as much as like China has, for example, but they are a major naval player in the world for sure and are easily able to protect their adjacent oceans. Yep, they have 2 aircraft carriers. They're pretty old, but they're still, I mean, carriers, right? Pretty big fleet besides that. A lot of frigates. Corvettes. It's not gigantic, but I mean, for what they are, and given, you know, it's really tough to be a naval player, right? It's just incredibly expensive to commission those ships and then upkeep them, right? I mean, it's pretty significant. Or like the largest navies in the world. I would guess like, let's see, US, China, Russia, Britain, France, India, maybe? Obviously, there's a quality difference here, but let me see. Curious, I haven't looked this up. Yep, USA, China, Russia, France. Is that right? India's not too far away, though. We're there. Modi is questionable, but he has had a stable government. If he dies, the country would be in utter chaos because 2 best alternatives are Amit Shah and Yogi Adityanath. Amit Shah is fine. Yogi is literally going to make the country Hindu dominant. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, though, is the BJP does flirt a lot with Hindu nationalism. You know, Modi is not like full blown and outright about it, but, you know, the party does have a large contingent of it, and they don't outright support Hindu nationalism, right? But there are undertones of it, if I remember correctly. We're going to make some more destroyers, I think, is what we'll do here to start off with. We actually have modern ones, so let's make use of that. And then I'm going to put out some frigates as well. We got 95s. India tried to kill a Sikh separatist who was an American citizen, and they foiled it. Yeah, the CIA or FBI got involved and stopped that, right? I mean, they assassinated the Canadian one, and they were trying to do it in America, which I don't know why. Who the fuck And Indian intelligence thought that trying to assassinate someone in America was going to be a good idea for them. Like, we've only just recently got back to having like semi-good relations with India, you know, and it's like, we're really throwing that all away, given like how much we cooperate with each other. So fucking dumb, man. So fucking dumb. Canada, I get, they're not particularly relevant if you're not in North America, but America, I don't know, not the wisest idea. Because now the CIA and the FBI are going to permanently hate India for a while, which is not good for our relations. We're going to keep our current divisions. All right, let's get all those set up. Not a bad starting situation. Good amount of armor. Motorized. People go for... Go sing. Okay, let's put our good general first on our armor. Do an armor commander? We do not. That's surprising. Can't promote one either. We'll do that later. For now, then, we'll just go with... Not optimal. CIA is really shady? Oh, 100%. They are sketchy as fuck. Don't get me wrong. I'm not in any way condoning the CIA, but they're sketchy, but they're powerful as shit, man. If you piss off the CIA, you gotta watch your ass, honestly. But he's a smart guy. Most people think he's dumb because of the things he puts up. I wouldn't say that. But he does a lot of major decisions in the dark. Let's be honest, if you're not American, you hate America. And if you are American, you can still hate America. True, but they're relevant, especially economically, and, you know, countries got to cooperate with them. It was made to be shady. Yeah, read about the history of the CIA and how they've, like, formed. And just read about any of the history of the CIA. Like, period. Modern day, the Cold War, any time period. Sketchy is an understatement, for sure. You know, honestly. This is Millennium Dawn 1.9. Absolutely, yes. Alright, last one. We are out of commanders, that's fine. Okay, let's man the border. We man the border with Pakistan and with China. Nothing else really matters too much at this point. Get fooled during the Indian nuclear tests. Not surprised. It damaged reputation a lot with India, though. It really did, yeah. So I spent like 100 years just constantly fucking up South America. It's why trying to develop any sort of relationship with those countries now is so difficult. Like, you know, even Brazil and America's relations have been questionable over the years, probably since the early 2000s, for good reason, right? I mean, you know, you got a lot of socialist, left, you know, Eastern aligned leaders, and as a result, it's just such a lost opportunity. I mean, like, I understand why America has been so hostile to like Central and South American countries, you know, racism. Let's be very real. The reason that Cuba is not currently an American state is racism, right? The reason other regions have not been, you know, actively made into partners rather than just nations we fuck with and use for cheap labor, right? It's just insane. It's so wasteful, but we've wasted a lot of opportunities. Why is a baby playing his PC? I kidnapped Hammurabae and killed him. I'm his semi-biological twin. CIA is at this point an organization on their own. They're very autonomous, like to a scary degree. I would wonder if how many presidents kind of just have to advise them rather than tell them what to do, honestly. Yeah, true. It's a conspiracy theory. I'm not saying they weren't involved at all, but it's a conspiracy theory. With what, Nero? Oh, JFK. Who knows with JFK, man? That assassination is just so many like what ifs and weird things. Even the USA admits the CIA was under the premise of plausible deniability. Yeah, I mean, they're allowed to do incredibly illegal things, and they do it all the time, and then stuff will come out about it, and then they don't even apologize for it, and we have to move on, because again, what are you gonna do about it? You're not gonna do anything. That's what. All right, we can't do any of our starting decisions. Roll these really quickly. SCO, we're not getting involved. Got our military set up. Let's set up our Navy next. As I said, pretty nice starting naval situation. We have a good admiral. Very good admiral. Pabby is very solid. Those are good traits. We'll just have to do a separate group of our submarines and then our Air Force. We should have some. Many. A lot of Russian aircraft here. Those, import a little bit of technology metals. We're trying to roleplay here. So in 2000, can anyone tell me who were like India's biggest trading partners in 2000? Does anyone know? I would imagine Russia, Britain and America, maybe? Does anyone know? Because I want to try and make our trade realistic here. What would y'all say? Generally just for resource trading and economically, who were their biggest partners in 2000? The only reason everyone likes Russia in India is not because they sell weapons to us, because they have never tried to harm us in any way. That's why when the Ukraine war broke out, many people in India supported Russia. I remember reading about that and being shocked, but yeah, you guys just have had such a good history together. Kind of forgive them and don't ask questions. United States, Hong Kong, China, UAE, UK, and Japan. Thank you, Mage. Okay, let's see if we can get our technology medals from any of them. We will trade for them with the Americans. And Japan doesn't have technology medals. Hong Kong won't either. UAE, I don't think does either. So UK or China. I want to take a hard line with China, so we're not going to trade with them. Just because I want... In this playthrough, I don't have like any major goals. We're going to kind of decide them as we go. But the biggest is to be the most influential and powerful economy and military in Asia. So we need to eclipse China. Doesn't mean we have to fight them, but we do need to... We do need to be much stronger than them and more influential. So that's one of the big goals. We are going to become Asia's true power, not China. No more divisions. We're good with what we've got. Deploy our planes. Okay, I think we're about good here. Let's look at the economy. 18% population tax rate, 26% corporate tax rate, 2.7 trillion GDP, 2.6 thousand GDP per capita, which is awful. Productivity of 529, given the global average is 1,000. That's awful. We need to get that up. So we need to build more factories, increase our technologies, and generally grow the economy. We're getting huge hits to our tax income, construction speed, and output there, which is unfortunate. 119 civs, 53 mills, 21 office complexes, 8 dockyards. Unemployment rate is 20%, very high and unfortunate. That's not entirely accurate. A lot of those would just be INVIC 3 subsistence jobs, right? But still. You support the American Empire because I can benefit from it. That's the only good reason to support them, honestly, as a nation or an individual. Let's create a spy agency so we can start killing Sikh nationalists. Alrighty. Good. Yeah, we're good for now. Let's get going. My Germany playthrough, I reduced the penalties for low on resources too much. I had minus 1,000 each and didn't halt my production like it's supposed to. I'd report that bug to MD if I was you, unless that's vanilla. Then good luck. HOI4 dev team, don't listen. Interest rate is 4.8%, not too bad. We almost... Oh, God. Okay, we need fuel. Huh. Whew, that was close. He said America's one of our biggest trading partners. We'll trade for their oil. We'll trade for Russian oil. think we're good. It was enmity? Yeah, I'd report that. That's strange. That shouldn't be letting you keep producing. What's up, Coco? How are you doing? Oh, shit. Here we go. Visual novel time, folks. Vajpayee needs to be an anime girl, so this can be a full visual novel. India faced a combination of political and economic challenges in the new millennium, as the nation sought to navigate through a complex landscape and address pressing issues. The new millennium brought forth a range of hurdles that tested the resilience of India's democratic institutions and economic stability. On the political front, the country witnessed a fragmented political landscape marked by coalition governments and frequent changes in leadership. This created a certain degree of instability and hindered the implementation of crucial reforms. The absence of a clear majority in the central government made decision-making a challenging process, often requiring delicate negotiations with various regional and ideological partners. Economically, India struggled with persistent issues such as fiscal deficits, slow industrial growth, and unemployment. The economy faced hurdles in fully capitalizing on the reforms initiated in the 1990s, and certain sectors experienced sluggish growth. Structural challenges, bureaucratic red tape, and inadequate infrastructure hampered the ease of doing business and limited the country's potential for rapid economic expansion. Additionally, India witnessed the devastating impact of the dot-com bubble burst. Yeah, that's just happened. That was 2 years ago? 3 years ago, something like that, which Asia just absolutely got destroyed from. Asia's still in recovery mode. This is also only a couple months after the peace with Pakistan with the recent border war in Kashmir. So it's a very crazy time for Asia, especially for India. Several IT companies faced setbacks as global markets experienced a downturn, leading to layoffs and financial strain within the industry. Amid these challenges, the government focused on policy measures to boost economic growth, attract foreign investment, and encourage entrepreneurship. Steps were taken to enhance infrastructure development, streamline regulation, and stimulate industrial activities. However, the impact of these initiatives took time to manifest and required sustained efforts that yield positive results. Despite the hurdles faced, India's resilience and democratic fabric remains intact. The country's vibrant civil society, independent judiciary, and free press played critical roles in ensuring accountability and promoting public discourse on vital issues. Very nice. Yeah, this is right after the recent war with Pakistan, which Pakistan lost quite badly after Pakistan attacked Indian positions, right? And they got their ass handed to them, if I remember correctly. And Asia is currently in economic decline, but it is recovering after the dot-com bubble burst and the, what is it called? The Asia crisis, I think it was. I forget if that's the actual name of it or not. I want to say the Asian crisis. Hold on, I'm gonna look that up because that's actually important. Yeah, 97, the 97 Asian crisis. Which at this point has bounced back for the most part, but obviously it caused a real hit on a lot of the Asian tigers, developing nations, which are rapidly expanding from foreign investment. And they're struggling to come back here a little bit. India especially, if I remember right. India was not hit as badly as other like primarily Southeast Asian countries, like Thailand, South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, but they still did get hit. Same with China. 97. 98 really is when it got bad. The funny thing is that the RAW, Indian Intelligence Agency, knew Pakistan was trying to make a nuclear bomb, and Israel offered that would give them a temporary airport so they could stop Pakistan, since an Islamic country making a nuke would be bad. But our dumb government said no RAW, and so the plan didn't come to fruition. To be fair, I don't think that it would have been as easy to stop Pakistan from getting nuclear warheads as, for example, it's been with Iran, right? I mean, Israel's done so much, especially with the US, but really by themselves to stop Iran getting nuclear weapons over the years, you know, like repeatedly assassinating Iranian nuclear scientists and blowing up facilities and things like that. Doing that to Pakistan would have been tougher because they were so farther along and they had China's support, right? Which for Iran never has. They've been very much going it alone. But Pakistan had enough big backers, right, that even if they'd done what you said and pulled that off, I don't think long-term they would have stopped Pakistan getting nuclear weapons, honestly. Little tougher to do, but that is interesting. I didn't know that. India is also a federal state. Every year, officials from bordering states die over water rights and border conflicts between states, which is pretty interesting when compared to the US federal system. A lot more regional power, right? It's like the state rights to max, essentially. Check your DMs for a meme? All right, so that's all a meme. Let me see.
I'm calling the police.
Ham.
I don't know what to say to that, Tom. Atal Bihari Vajpayee is an eminent Indian statesman and prominent figure in Indian politics. He served as the Prime Minister of India on 3 separate occasions, first for a brief period in 1996, then from 98 to 99, and finally from 99 onwards. Vajpayee was a founding member of the BJP and a key leader in the Rashtriya I'm going to butcher this, Swayamsevak. I apologize for that song, a Hindu nationalist organization. He's not as far right as you would think, though. He's not. I wouldn't consider Vajpayee to be a full-blown Hindu nationalist. From what I read about him, it always seemed to be more like he utilized the far-right elements to get the BJP to have more influence and power. That's my take. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I wouldn't consider him like a really extreme Hindu nationalist. He is religious for sure, though. I saw someone call you Ham instead of Hamu. Fair. Okay, that makes a bit more sense. Both India and Pakistan having nukes stops a major war between those two countries. Also, any kind of strike over Pakistan facilities have incited another war. Yeah, nuclear warheads are such a double-edged spear, right? In some ways, it's easy to argue that they've stopped so many wars, because they have. But if there ever is a war, which could still happen, it's game over. Let's get our energy balance up so we can see that. Let's go for our tax cost. Let's go for our factory count. Let's go for our weekly balance. Factories. Protest strength, that's important so we know we don't get rebellions. Unemployment rate as well. Beautiful. If you play MD, make sure to utilize these statistics. It's really convenient. A lot of those are important to be looking at. Otherwise, you'll be like me and just forget about them completely and then wonder why your economy is suddenly not functioning. Just not optimal. All right, we're good. We are losing fuel again, though. UAE. Someone made you mention that they have good relations with the UAE. I'm sure a lot of that is oil imports. So we'll import some fuel from them too. Yep. I'm not a dev. I am absolutely not a dev. Oh, if you're not talking to me. Okay, you're not talking to me. Good. No, I'm not a dev. That is the reason the BJP is not nationalist. You say something else that I missed? What's the reason the BJP is not nationalist, cool dude? Vajpayee or something else? Oh, cool dude. Hell yeah. Yeah, man, big fan of the tree. I played a little bit of it by myself, and then I'm doing a full playthrough. Much appreciated, man. This is the tree I've been looking forward to the most, and you did a great job on it, dude. So, always appreciated, modders, putting in that amazing work. I would honestly just not have nukes exist as they cause so much fear and destruction. Yeah, I understand that, Cog, but like, if we're gonna be honest, there would probably have been at least one other world war since the 40s if nukes had never been invented. Let's be real, right? The Cold War would have happened. If there were no nuclear warheads, there's no way in hell the Soviet Union and America wouldn't have gone to war, right? Or other major wars. So, if I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of glad they exist. It's like one of those things that's high risk, high reward, you know? Nuclear warheads have overseen the largest era of technological advancement, economic growth, and world peace in human history, right? I mean, and is there even a name for it officially in poli-sci? I want to say it's Pax Nuclear is the name for it. Pax Atomica, yeah, is a full name for it. Pax Atomica is one of the terms that has sometimes been used to describe the period of severe tensions without a major military conflict between the US and the Soviets and then the post-war era. Yep. Which is, we are in an unprecedented era of peace due to nuclear weapons. I mean, there's no other thing to blame it on, really, right? But if that ever stops and nuclear nations fight, it's game over. I don't know. It's a really weird thing, but overall, I'm kind of glad they exist. A lot of that is due to the fact that they've been successful and we're not all, you know, cooking human flesh over a barrel fire in a nuclear wasteland right now, but, you know, still. I went 900 trillion in debt as Germany to start my Space Marine program. It worked. And within 2 years, I had dug out of it and was strong enough. Yeah, you can get out of debt in MD and in real life if you know what you're doing. That's a lot of debt. 900 trillion though, Jesus Christ. Yin and yang with nukes, yeah, exactly. Oppenheimer, the movie, had a really good scene on that towards the end when he was struggling with like what he'd created. But like, I think they portrayed him as like disliking it and being depressed about it. But like a lot of those nuclear scientists who work on the Manhattan Project later continued to support and be happy with what they did because of what was created politically, right? So nukes for defensive purposes, yeah, but that's not really a thing, right? Like if you say you have nukes for defensive purposes, if you get fired on, you still use them. And I understand like that is their use, right? Their usefulness is deterrence, but anytime you try and frame a weapon as a defensive thing, it's nonsensical. It's the same way with people like, oh, you know, I'm for guns for personal private hunting use. Yeah, but you can still go shoot someone with them, right? And that's fine, but let's not pretend it's anything other than it is. And it's the same with nuclear weapons, you know, which is, I think a lot of times countries try and portray them in that light, right? Oh, well, it's just for deterrence. And that's true, but you're still going to participate in ending the world. But it's a necessary thing, you know? It's just the way that we portray weapons of any magnitude is always so strange, I think. Like the phrases that we use for it. I had this argument over war in Ukraine. America will not intervene because of nukes. Why would we go to war with nuclear power if we can avoid it? Yeah, true. I mean, that's why we're taking the right approach to it. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden, but I have been a fan of how he's been going about the Ukraine issue in terms of just generally providing them support. I wish we'd give more, but that's one of the things I will give him credit for. No loans for small businesses. An issue has been raised to use. Many CEOs of smaller businesses are saying the banks have become more and more reluctant to loan money. A representative from bankers, however, stated it is perfectly normal that banks don't loan money to every revolutionary juice maker. Okay, we'll do state-backed loans. We've got plenty of money. Our debt's not too bad. Oh, no, that's not good politically for our party, is it? There's no upside here. We wouldn't do it. We'll just stay out of it. Private market will be the private market. We're not going to touch that. For me, as it being used for deterrence is more stating your intent on how to use it. That's true. But like, name one country that has ever gone, we're building nuclear weapons to launch them at our neighbors, right? I don't think there's been a single case of that. Even in the US, when they developed the program initially, like always stated like it was, you know, to stop war, right? I mean, everyone frames it like that, which is the way that every logical actor would, but I don't know. I think it's just so... What's the word I'm thinking of? It makes light of like the most ultimate destructive power humanity has ever created, and it's just, I don't know. I wish we'd be more honest with what it is. I understand why we do, though. It's politics. There's only one, well, yeah, Iran, right, I'd say, but they never made them. Iran said they wanted to launch on Israel, right? I think, didn't they say that formally? Ooh, do we want to recognize Tibet? That's a big one. Tibet gains drama. Oh man. Well, we need to do the Lahore Declaration. That's the most important thing. That's the peace treaty that came out of our war with Pakistan. The Lahore Declaration was a bilateral agreement, a governance treaty between India and Pakistan. The treaty was signed on the 21st of February 1999 as the conclusion of the historical summit in Lahore and ratified by the parliaments of both countries in the same year. Under the terms of the treaty, a mutual understanding was reached towards the development of atomic arsenals and to avoid accidental and unauthorized operational use of nuclear weapons. The Lahore Declaration brought added responsibility to both nations' leadership towards avoiding nuclear race, as well as both a non-conventional and conventional conflicts. Yeah, this came out of the recent war with Pakistan, where India did kind of win, but all the wars between Pakistan and India were always like very compartmentalized in certain regions, and both states were logical and smart enough to not let it get out of hand. So this was the treaty that resulted from that, which was pretty good all around. And yeah, we'll go for that. Who said it was their plan? USA and Iran. Iran, I knew. When did US say that they plan to use them for offensive means after World War II, or was that only during World War II, Reaper? I'd imagine that was only for Japan and possibly Germany, right? Or maybe Soviets too, but I don't think so. Truman is the type of like shithead to like say that he was gonna drop on the Soviets, honestly. I don't like Truman. Oh, for sure, Reaper. Damn it, Saul. Fuck. Same. All right, we're running out of fuel. We really need to get more. We are building more fossil fuel plants. But until then... Jesus Christ. What are we using it all on right now? Probably just population. Let's buy some fuel. So we have some. We are making enough power. This is just our, probably to fuel our fossil fuel plants, which, yeah, we have 136 of them. We need to get access to more oil. All right, let's think about that logically. Okay, I'm gonna do our first poll of the day for everyone watching. I do want to start doing more of those. I was watching another streamer, not even like a role play or like a strategy streamer, but this one guy I was watching, he did like more polls for like people making decisions, and I really enjoyed watching it, so I'm trying to do more of them because I know it's a lot more interesting to watch. Alrighty, let's see here. Everyone watching, if you want to roleplay this, you can either be members of various corporations or businesses or family heads, or members of the BJP party advising Vajpayee. You are going to be deciding who our main trading partners going forward, primarily for a really large fossil fuel importing deal, but it will include other things in the future as well. So. I'll let y'all decide that. China actually gives passports to people in Indian territories of the Arunachal Pradesh. That's in the far east, right? Let's see if I remember my geography right. Aha, I knew. Because they consider that region to be part of China. Yeah, have y'all seen that, like the map China put out of its borders recently? Let me show that to y'all because it's really important and interesting. It's pretty wild what they claim. Yeah, here it is. Share my screen very briefly. Let me find a good picture of it. Come on, give me something HD and large. A lot of countries, even their allies, got pissed off about it. But I mean, China is always so China first in their foreign policy. It's like the China standard map. Anyone finds a really good HD version of it, let me know. I'm looking for it right now. That map, yeah. Being from India, I'm sure you know about this very well. Pissed off a lot of countries, primarily India. I'm not finding a really good version of it. Hold on 1 second. Here's from China Daily. That should have a good one. Nope, not really. I have an upscale program I could throw one of these into, but I don't really want to do that. Bear with me. This is pretty interesting. I promise. If you like map games, you'll find this interesting. This isn't great, but we'll use this one. Okay, so this is the map that China put out over the last year or something like that. I think it was around 4 months ago or something like that, where essentially China, they claim a lot of regions around their territories, which piss people off. The one you probably, USA won. All right, USA won the primary trading partner then. A lot of Americans watching right now, I think. But the biggest thing that's pissed a lot of people off in recent years is the dashed line for the South China Sea. Gonna follow EMP. So basically, let me show it in Millennium Dawn really quickly, because that's an easy way to do this. It looks actually good. So the South China Sea, which is all the way down here, the Parcel Sea in Millennium Dawn to the South China Sea, is a region heavily claimed by a number of different nations. Vietnam claims large regions of sea off of their border. Philippines claims a lot. Malaysia claims a lot as well, which is heavily contended, especially where it gets complicated in these islands down here, the Spratly Islands, where they're owned by various different countries. Like China's got islands they own there, Vietnam, the Philippines. I think someone else does too. Right, yeah, Malaysia does own some as well. So it's a very complicated political issue that's been problematic for decades at this point. It's in the last 2 decades or so when China started to get very aggressive with claiming this area. And I mean aggressive, right? In the same way they claim Taiwan, right? They claim it's a province of their own and that they own it and the sea around it, which they don't effectively do because America primarily has a naval presence in the area and they do patrol the sea and support Taiwan. So they don't really try and contend it that much. The South China Sea is different. It's a more complicated manner. America stays a bit more out of it. A lot of countries do. But effectively, China claims everything I'm drawing right here. They claim all this, which, as you might imagine, pisses some nations off quite a lot. Notably Vietnam, Philippines, and Malaysia. They claim all the Spratlys as well. And they've done insane things to stake their claim there. Like you've probably seen in the news or seen videos, right, of China making artificial islands, which is disgusting because what they oftentimes will do is they'll basically find like a coral reef, which is really important for, biodiversity and for sea life. And they'll just pave concrete islands over it and claim those islands and use it to stake their claim on the South China Sea, which is just disgusting, man. It's all political. But anyway, they contend like this whole region, which pissed people off. But recently, their claims have been made even more problematic because of this map, which was put out semi-recently. Noticeably, it claims large regions of that province that was just mentioned earlier by Mains. Hold on. Try and say it right here, at least. The Arunachal Pradesh region, which is over here. They claim a bunch of that region. They claim lands with India, I think in the west as well, and Kashmir, and even with Pakistan and places like that in Nepal. So this map effectively just like encroaches and moves out their borders a bunch of different places and pissed off a ton of their neighbors. Like even their allies were just like, what the fuck are you doing? They kind of backtracked on it microscopically in the sense that they're not publicly throwing this out to the world all the time, but they still view those as their rightful borders. So it's been pretty interesting. So that ties into what Mage was saying, where they give passports out to people living in this province, which I didn't know, but checks out. I mean, they claim it. It's theirs on paper, like Taiwan is, Which just speaks to the danger of China. I mean, they are, much like Russia, one of the modern nations that does seek territorial expansion. Whether or not, like Russia, they will go to war to take it remains to be seen, but they sure as fuck claim it, and they sure as fuck don't shut up about it. So, yeah, it's a little problematic. And build airstrips on them. Yes, absolutely. Single player. Cameron, single player. Oh, Greater China map. Anrak, that's a whole different one. Let me see that one. No, they don't actively push that anymore, I don't believe. This is the one that they like make very clear at a state level, nationally and foreign wise, that those are their borders. So, yeah. They poke the international community sometimes. Yep. I think it's called wolf warrior diplomacy, right? Which is basically China is just in the modern age hyper aggressive to all their neighbors and even their allies with pushing their policies, essentially. The idea being that they've been stepped on for too long and they need to be respected as a global superpower, toe-to-toe with America, if not higher than them. So they're really aggressive and not just pushing their foreign claims on territory, on sea, on Taiwan, on, all manner of things like that. It's problematic, and it makes it very hard to be, I think, allies with China unless you're hated by the rest of the world, like, Iran or Pakistan. Which China isn't hated, like, for example, the US is on the world stage, but I mean, they are hyper aggressive and it can be difficult at times, like we are, just in a different way. Doesn't the USA do the same? Not with borders, no. We're aggressive in like other things, which is that we have this idea that we're still the superpower of the world and can just make countries do what we want. In that way, we're very aggressive, but we don't claim like land like other countries in China does. That we don't do. See you around, Cameron. Yeah, Mage, that's true. Russia's the other power that does that a lot, especially in the Caucasus. It's interesting though. At least China's fossil fuel accounts for less than half of their power capacity. They've gone nuclear and they have a lot of hydro too, I believe, right? Farmers push for biofuel investment. Agricultural industry associations are pushing the government to request investment in biofuels. This would help stabilize the domestic grain market amid increased competition from international farmers. Representatives of major oil companies have voiced opposition. We are going to fully back them. Well, we could reassure them. The farmers are so important politically, and I believe are a huge part of the voting base of the BJP, right? The rural farming portions, which is most of like rural India. We might actually want to, do that. I'm kind of tempted, not gonna lie. Let me change the music. We got the synth wave some time ago. I don't know why. Yeah, we're gonna do that. We'll invest in a biofuel refinery. We want to stay like on fossil fuels and things like that, but showing up our support with a farming base will do a lot for the elections and will be a priority for the BJP party and Vajpayee, obviously. So 100%. Also, Nepal is in a civil war. This is when the communists were fighting a civil war of Nepal, which was ongoing at this point. They lost quite badly in real life, but we'll see how this goes instead. We'll go Anushka Hussain for our first spy. The goal for this game is I want to be the largest economic power in Asia, have a military power that can contend China. I want our navy to be larger and more powerful than China. And potentially, I may spark conflict for our claimed territories in Kashmir. So we might try and get our territories back with Pakistan and China. Depends how far right we go politically, though. We'll see. If not, just economic power and influence on the global stage and dominate the developing market like in Africa. So, yeah. There's a dispute between the USA and the Marshall Islands over Wake Island. Yeah, but we don't really give a shit about it. Like, it's not like China where it's an aggressive thing we talk about all the time. It's just, it's there. But it's not a major foreign policy thing, you know? As far as I'm aware, at least. Tata Tea pays £271 million sterling for Tetley. Tetley, famous for his US TV adverts featuring the Tetley tea folk, has been swallowed up by Tata Tea, the world's largest integrated tea company. The Indian company has paid £271 million sterling for the privately held Tetley, which makes Britain's most popular tea and the second largest global tea brand. The deal concludes after months of negotiations and is being financed through a combination of equity and debt. Tata Tea, part of India's largest business group Tata, said the existing Tetley management was continuing to handle the day-to-day affairs. So it's basically a conglomeration. Yep, the oligarchs like that. Good. Fine by me. I might play a game of MD myself, but I have absolutely no idea how it functions most of the time and what I end up doing. I have tutorials on it, Pink, on my YouTube channel. Those will help you if you want. I have not checked the decisions. We're struggling to get any political power right now, so there's not a lot of options we can do here. From what I've seen, it's very similar to the Germany's focus tree in 1.9 in that you have all these decisions and events that you need to handle, and then you make no political power, so it's like you can't even really interact with them that much. Muslims are pretty unhappy. Do some artillery training on the border with Pakistan. We'll do infantry training on the border with China. I have a question. I have all the DLCs that work till now. I could create 10 cavariates with no step back, but as the research, it says the old 1938 medium, etc. Do you know a solution for that? Create a 10 variant with no step back, but at the research, it says the old 1938 medium, etc. For Millennium Dawn dead, or what are you playing? Is that vanilla a mod or Millennium Dawn? Do you have any mods on it? And if so, what do you have on? That's the first question that always needs to be asked. Let's raid some Maoist hideouts. We'll do one just to show force. Those are so costly for political power. Like if we're like the US and we have a ton of extra political power we're getting every day, sure, you can interact with those decisions. But for us, we need our political power for other things, so we can't really interact with these decision event things really well. No, I don't want to cheat, Lampari. No. That's the bitch way out. We're not doing that. We need more fuel. Jesus Christ. America won the vote. They're going to be one of our biggest trading partners. So let's actually switch to importing a lot more fuel from them rather than the Russians. Looking good. Well, vanilla of HOI4, I have player-led peace conferences mod only, but it worked until today. Try launching without player-led peace conferences on and see if it changes. If that doesn't work, try relaunching your HOI4 and starting a new game and see if you can create variants. Just use console commands. If that doesn't work, go to your Steam, right-click your game in your directory for your games, and go to properties and verify integrity of the cache. Would be my recommendation for you. Try that out. That'd be my... Try all those things, and if that doesn't work, try a full reinstall of HOI4. If that doesn't work, go to your documents file, go to Paradox Interactive, go to HOI4, delete that entire fucking folder, get your saves if you want them, then reinstall HOI4 in that order. If you forgot any of that, I can tell you again. I know it's a pain in the ass, but with HOI4 bugs, sometimes you gotta do a lot to get rid of them. And thank you for the sub, Feudal. Appreciate that, man. You need to suppress them or Mouse will start a civil war. That's fair, but I'd rather take the civil war and be able to deal with our corruption and other things, because it's 100 political power each. That's fucking insane. So I'm honestly gonna take that civil war if we have to, and we'll just put them down. Article 370. Article 370 of the Indian Constitution gives special status to Jammu and Kashmir, a region located in the northern part of the Indian subcontinent and part of the larger region of Kashmir, again, which is claimed by China and Pakistan, and we fought wars over, which has been the subject of dispute between India, Pakistan, China, there you go, since 1947. They have a autonomous status in the Constitution of India, meaning that they have a lot of like political power that other regions don't have, and that was revoked though, right, in recent times. Didn't Modi revoked the special status of Kashmir in real life like a couple of years ago? Maybe like 5 or 6 years ago at this point. Because I know that caused a bunch of issues in Kashmir, right? Think of all dead? Yeah, give those a try and let me know. If it's still not working, I'll try and think of anything else. But if you do everything I said, at least one of those should hopefully work for you. Yeah, it was revoked. That's what I thought. That was Modi who did that. Who are we invading? I don't know. I do want to go with the Indian National Congress, though, so we may not fight a lot of wars. I do want to go like a very interventionist democratic India, so we'll send volunteers, and if actual big wars break up, we'll intervene, but it's unlikely we're going to start any major wars unless the Pakistanis or the Chinese really get aggressive in Kashmir, and then we may fight a war for that, because this we are going to keep our claims on completely. Colony and occupied region. Yeah, they're culturally, and I know they're culturally different. Do they have their own language, Mage? Do you know? That I don't remember. No debt bailout. Or a not real state. Yeah, I would bet we don't even have cores on some of these regions. No, we do. Okay. We do have cores. That's surprising. I don't think we can intervene in this war. Nope. Not enough world tension. Nationalist Nepal, the House of Shah. I thought they lost power before this. Nepal, when did the monarchy end? 2008? How the fuck do I not know that? Yeah, he reigned from 2001 to 2008 when it was dissolved. On June 2001, 9 members of the royal family, including King Birendra and Queen HOI4 were killed in a mass shooting at the royal residence. Crown Prince Dipendra was implicated on an official investigation. What? How the fuck don't I know about this? There's a huge controversy concerning this, as there was no practical investigation on that was proved involvement. Many Nepali people believed that there might be many other people involved in the massacre of the royal family. Immediately after the killings, Dipendra was proclaimed king while in a coma, but died in 2001 after a 3-day reign. His uncle Prince Gyanendra was appointed regent for 3 days, then ascended the throne himself. 1st of February 2005, as a security situation deteriorated in the civil war with the communists, which lasted quite a while, King Gyanendra staged a coup d'etat, declaring a state of emergency, suspending the constitution, and assuming direct control over the country, which went on for a year until April 2006. La Contra Andalusian movement, the king agreed to give up absolute power and to reinstate the House of Representatives. The civil war was ended that year in November, and with the signing of the peace accords, the king was suspended from his exercise duties and removed from power. Yeah, so the monarchy lost out because he seized power. Wow, I didn't know anything about that. I fucking been in Nepal too. I should have read their history. Jesus Christ. Holy fuck. So it sounds to me like potentially the crown prince might have tried to kill his family? Is that what I was reading here? Yeah. It was the crown prince who did it. What the fuck? On June 1st, 2001, Crown Prince Dipendra opened fire at the house of the grounds of the palace, the residence of the monarchy where a party was being held. He shot and killed his father, King Birendra, his mother, and 7 other members of the royal family, including his younger brother and sister. What the fuck? Due to his wiping out of most of the line of succession, he became king while in a coma from a head wound. Dipendra's motives for the murder is unknown. There are various theories. Dipendra wanted to marry Devyani Rana, whom he had met in the United Kingdom. Some allege that due to his mother's family being lower-class royal of India and her father's political alliances, the royal family objected. Another theory states that there was a higher possibility of Indian influence in Dipendra would be married to Devyana, to which the palace objected. So it was over him not being able to marry this woman from India. Jesus, man, that's some Game of Thrones shit for real, though. Wow. Okay, well, that's how the monarchy ended. Talking about going out with a bang, literally. How are you gonna kill your own siblings and parents, though, dude? Jesus Christ. Big sociopath vibes. All right, back to the game. I'd never heard of that. That's crazy. You thought your family was fucked up. Wow. Will this end up on YouTube? Yeah, I'll probably make edited videos out of this playthrough too. They'll probably go on the main channel at some point. We did succeed in our raid in hitting the communists, the Maoists, in the east. We lost some men, but the enemy was defeated. Yeah, they're a big issue to this day, the Maoists in eastern, like the poor region of rural India. They do a lot of very fucked up things. It's a lot of the Nepalese royal family is sad. It is, really, though. It's a real shame. Wow, I just never heard of that. I can't believe I've never heard of that. That's like one of those things where you know you're American, when there's like this insane thing that happens in politics throughout the world, and you just don't know about it. I studied political science in college. How the fuck didn't I read about that? That's on me, honestly. So that hasn't happened yet. I wonder if we're gonna get events for that. Is there a focus tree? No, there isn't. We'll see. Now, there's a lot in poli-sci, but still. It's like one of those things you just expect to, you know, have one of your poli-sci buddies talk about. Poli-sci majors love to talk about poli-sci fun facts. At least all the ones I met. They all have their pet stories that they'll talk about for hours, which are always interesting, so it's fun. Even in Asian studies, Nepal and Bhutan is skipped. Don't worry, it's not your fault. That's fair. I mean, economically, they're not the most important. Nepal does have a really interesting history, though. Like, you know, militarily and with, like, the early era. What was it? What were the name of, like, the Gurkhas, right? Like, they had really fierce warriors, which were around for a while and then fought for the British because Nepal was a colony for a while. Yeah, the Gurkhas, that's the one. They had those really cool, like, curved blades. Check the foreign intervention tree. We can befriend Nepal and Bhutan. We can support the Nepalese army, and we can build business agreements with them. Is that the one that you mean? Cool, dude. Or actually, foreign intervention. Let's be. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we can do a little bit with them if we want to. Kukris. Yeah, the blades, right? It's crazy that they don't teach in school sometimes. I never thought I'd want to read about the Nepalese royal family. Dude, every country has just such amazing history, right? Like, I find it to be such a tragedy that history classes taught in most countries throughout the world are seen to be boring. And sure, some people just don't find history interesting, right? I mean, that they absolutely exist. But it's like many subjects in school. A lot of the times it's on the teachers for just not presenting such a fascinating subject. It's the same with like science classes, right? I remember, like, you know, when I went to public school in high school, the amount of classes that I had an interest in the subject that were ruined by just a horrible teaching. You know, it's a tragedy. A lot of people aren't interested in history, I think, because they never, like, get to experience it in an interesting way. Like, it's always just, you know, quizzes and, like, the cookie cutter copy paste, boring ass history subjects that the school curriculum wants you to hit, you know? If you want to tell history in an interesting way, it's not hard, right? There's so many cool subjects. I did good Thanksgiving. Thank you for asking, Tall. Hope you did too. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving if you're of the America turkey eating variety. A small company offering clean energy solutions has brought a large fossil fuel corporation into court. The large corporation is charged with intentionally running negative marketing campaigns against the smaller corporation, as well as industrial espionage and sabotage. The court case is making headlines across the country and is seen as a fight between renewable and fossil energy. Well, we know where we're going on that. Oh no, corruption? I'm not doing that. That's too painful. We're not gonna get involved. We'll leave it to the courts. You had a good history teacher in secondary school. Hell yeah. I respect people who find history uninteresting, but I don't understand how they can view it that way. Yeah, again, I think some just will never like it, but a lot just have never had it portrayed to them in an interesting manner through a good teacher, right? It's kind of a tragedy in education, period, right? Where there's so many subjects that if people were taught to actually enjoy and were taught in a good manner, it would radically change their lives, right? I mean, think about, for many of y'all and myself included, I know that there were teachers I had in high school and in college, but especially in high school, where they were just such good teachers, I became interested in those subjects and tried to pursue them later on, or they influenced kind of where I went in life in varying degrees, even in small ways, you know, right? Which is good. I mean, that's why teaching is a noble profession and why it's so important, but it's sad because think of all the people who could have and would have gone into different areas of, you know, science or just jobs in general and enjoyed it more because they understood that they'd enjoy it, or actually make meaningful impacts on the world, right? Because of that. It's, I don't know. But that's the same kind of thinking where you're like, you know, think of all the lost scientific talent in developing regions of the world who don't get access to education, you know, just a lighter version than that. So yeah, eating turkey, the country. Absolutely. Tall. Nom, nom, nom. We had an assignment where we made history memes, and it wasn't just a funny thing, there was an actual purpose and sense to learning it. That's fucking smart, actually. It's very smart. Chemistry would have been so cool if my teacher could have made it interesting. True. My chemistry teacher was like a pseudo pedophile when everyone knew he was a pedophile, and he didn't give a shit about teaching, so I remember really disliking chemistry in high school. What's up, Jarhead? Okay. Education's a pretty big priority for us. Working with the US would be a big priority since we've decided to make them one of our primary partners, though. All right. The renewal and expansion on our nuclear arsenal is an important precedent of modern Indian defense policy. It's time to conduct new tests in Rajasthan and be sure about our power. See if we have nuclear warheads. I'll actually do the test. If I can remember how the fuck they work. Nuclear energy, nuclear power, land-based. Can we do tests? Don't think we can. Let me look.
Okay, I'll be in front.
We have missile silos. In Rajasthan, right? She is right there. I forget how to do a test. I hope I won't actually hurt the map. Oh, we can't fire, can we? We don't have nuclear weapons testing? Does the focus give it to us? No. It'll automatically do the test though, I guess, so that's fine. Settle down with the Gujarat protests. Oh no. I'm an English teacher now. Congrats, Mage. I try to include fun history in my classes. Yeah, I mean, part of teaching is not like... I know a lot of teachers take things very differently. In my opinion of teaching, the most important thing is to like make your students interested in the subject, right? Like you gotta try and teach in a way to get people interested. And some you just never will. You won't. That's fine. But there's a lot you can definitely get engaged if you try. A lot of teachers don't do that. They either think that their subject is so great they can be purist and it doesn't matter, or they just don't give a shit, or they don't try and develop those skills. Which is crazy because the amount of like teaching training courses you have to take, at least in the US and a lot of Western countries, is wild. I've been told by many that I would make a good history teacher. I love talking about history, but I'm a little delusioned with the education system. It's bad in the US. That's the sad thing. Being a teacher there's really no upside in many ways. You don't get support, you don't get good wages. You get, curriculums pushed on you, especially if you're in certain states, Florida. And yeah, it's just, there's not a lot of respect given to you by students and teachers. So it's definitely a service job and one you won't get a lot of credit for, which sucks. Yep. Which is a shame. In this era where there is so much information, developing interest of students is more important. Yep. If you do a good job of getting them interested in the subject, they can just use the internet to learn even more than you could possibly teach them in their free time, right? So, all right, we're gonna save up and start reducing our corruption levels. I'm not just gonna shoot it to 0 immediately because I do want to make this a little more of a realistic campaign, but we are gonna try and take corruption levels down to level 5, I think, during Vajpayee's presidency and deal with some of our internal party and economic issues. Wow, the Maoists are maybe gonna win here. Oh, Jesus, yeah. Alrighty, call me Nepal. My history teacher was wonderful. He really made me interested in what he taught. Yeah, good ones will do that, and it's so nice. Those classes don't feel like school. They're just, enjoyable. I could never be a teacher because I have too much trouble talking to people, as in being in front of kids. You get over it really quickly, I promise you. You realize half of them are shitheads, and then you can just vibe. Who will 100% be silently judging me? Yes, but their opinions don't matter because they're high school kids. I don't mean this in a callous way, but like, you shouldn't worry about high school kids judging you. Their opinion is not something you should care about in any way. That's important to remember. A lot of them don't want to be there, but some do, and that's the tragedy of education nowadays, right? It's very brutal. Trade deal with Saudi Arabia, absolutely. We're importing a lot of their oil, so we'll go for that. I get that. Anxiety and things like that can be hard with speaking in front of people. I mean, I got a fair bit of anxiety myself, but unless you really have like clinical debilitating anxiety, in which case, speak to a therapist and get medication. But most other kinds you can get over. It's just you have to get comfortable with things and you got to make yourself do them, which is easier said than done, but it is a thing. It very much is a thing. I had really bad anxiety when I was younger. In high school especially, I had really bad anxiety. But I got over it by just forcing myself to do things, essentially. And I know that's going to be different for some people because there are stages to anything, right? Especially anxiety. And mine was not ever really bad, but it's one of those things where you do kind of got to make yourself do certain things and get comfortable. There's a name for that. I forget what it is, but which is why I joined political campaigns and forced myself to speak in front of people, which worked. It was just very, very uncomfortable and painful. Education could be improved in so much with engagement and was emphasized over average test scores. True. Testing and No Child Left Behind, and like the federal government, especially in the US, has pushed towards education outcomes, which hasn't even worked. It's just been so bad. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable is important. Yeah, to a degree. Agreed, Tommy. Like, you gotta make yourself be willing to get uncomfortable. You shouldn't do it all the time. Like, isn't there a thing with that in psychology where like moderate amounts of doing stressful things, which are good to do, is very useful to you psychologically because it will expand what you're able to do and willing to do, right? But if you make yourself too stressed all the time doing things, then it has the opposite effect and it only hurts. So there's a balance, but yeah, you gotta be willing to. A lot of people will just, you know, get stuck in their ways and not put themselves out there to do things anymore. I've been there in certain points in my life. It happens, but you gotta make something change. Nuclear tests in Rajasthan. The tests achieved their main objective of giving India the capability of to build fission and thermonuclear weapons with yields of 200 kilotons. The then chairman of the Indian Atomic Energy Commission described each one of the explosions of Pokhran-2 to be equivalent to several tests carried out by other nuclear weapon states over decades. Subsequently, India established computer simulation capabilities to predict the yield of nuclear explosives whose designs are related to the designs of explosives used in this test. Beautiful. More support from nuclear tests. Yeah. The US will be our main state in confronting China. Simple as that. My senior English teacher was on her retirement and couldn't care less about us. It was the worst class of the year. Didn't help that COVID fucked it up as well. Yeah, those sorts of teachers are rough. I do get it though. Teaching sucks. You don't get paid well. You get treated like shit for years. I understand why you get those grumpy old teachers waiting for retirement. I get it, but like, fuck, dude. You are like educating generations of people. But it's kind of hard to demand, you know, the quality of excellence from teachers that you should, because again, where's their incentive for it? I mean, morality, but that only goes so far when you're not making very much money and you're getting yelled at by parents every couple of weeks, which is what happens in the US. Other countries, I don't know as much, but there's a biological term, hormesis. Hormesis? Some stress is good. Yep. Hormesis. I want to look that up. Hormesis. Yep. Hormesis is defined as a phenomenon in which a harmful substance gives stimulating and beneficial effects to living organisms when the quantity of the harmful substance is small. Yeah, so stress, which is innately bad for you, mentally and physiologically, is good in small amounts. Too much of it is just bad. Failure attack simulation. During recent feint maneuvers, we were shelled by a unknown opponent. The exact reasoning could not be determined, and many uneasy questions are being asked. Oh boy. It goes on the Chinese border. Class size in the US varies dramatically state by state. Education is done by state governments, not by the federal government. The federal government is involved in varying degrees. The way that they do that is the federal government mandates things by funding. So they can't just like, the federal US government cannot come into the state education system in, for example, Oklahoma, right, and tell the schools in Oklahoma to do something. They're unable to do that, right? Unless it's a Supreme Court case and that gets complicated. But what they can do is go to the Oklahoma education department and go, hey, we're gonna give you a package of 15 billion spending to expand school quality, hire more teachers, do educational programs, things like that. But you got to do this if you want it. So the way the federal government has influences over US education is by giving funding, but putting strings on it. That's the only way they have involvement. But given so many states underfund education, it's very powerful and they kind of get to do what they want in a lot of ways. Pretty dramatically. So again, it varies state by state. I don't know what the average in the US. I guess 30 to 32. Let's look. Average classroom size. Primary school's 26, middle school's 25, high school's 24. But there's just such huge variety between states. Holy shit. Wow. Yep, it does vary a lot. It's not as bad as I thought, though. It is a lot smaller, but still not great. 20 to 25, yeah. That's not too bad. I think optimally you want probably around 20. Like the smaller the classroom size, the more teachers can work with students, which is really important, but yeah. Stress helps me get my papers done on time, so in that way it's rather beneficial to me. Sounds like my college days, being unmedicated. U.S. President's visit to China. Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee welcomed U.S. President's pressure on Islamabad. It was the first time an American president openly sided with India against Pakistan in wartime. Before U.S. President's trip, the American intelligence community offered a chilling estimate. The chance of a full-scale war between the two nuclear weapon powers was 50-50 in the next decade. U.S. President was greeted like a rock star across India, with stops in Delhi, Hyderabad, Jaipur, Mumbai. He got a standing ovation addressing Parliament. The crowds everywhere were enormous. Vajpayee returned the visit later that year with a state dinner in the White House. After decades of troubled ties, India and America have turned a corner. Beautiful. Hell yeah, that's what we want. Clinton, good old Bill. Bill, I did not have relations with that woman Clinton. That dude was charismatic as fuck, though. Like, Jesus Christ, man. I'd say Obama was probably the most charismatic in the last, like, 40, 50 years. I don't know. Him or Reagan. It's tough to say which was. They were very different in style, but Clinton wasn't too far behind. Alrighty. What are we missing anything? No, we're not. Match fixing scandal. One of the biggest match fixing scandals in cricket history occurred when the Delhi police disclosed that they had captured shady conversations between Sanjay Chawla and Hansi, Kronje? I'm saying that wrong. Fans idolized Kronje, a popular and successful South African cricket player. However, he was divisive because of his association with Sanjay Chawla. Sanjay was identified as a well-known participant in Indian betting rings. In his initial denial of all allegations of match fixing, Kronje sobbed, but this was followed by him under cross-examination being indicted. Ban him from playing again. Who cares about cricket? A lot of the world, actually. Look to. Don't they have like one of the highest viewerships for any sport in the world? Let me look. Yep. So for World Cups, the World Cup of Soccer attracts 5 billion views. Tour de France, 3.5. Wow, that's way higher than I thought. Followed by the Cricket World Cup with 2.6 billion viewers. The most watched sports in the world currently are soccer, followed by cricket. It's a huge sport. It really is. Just not in the US. We don't give a fuck about it. India, Pakistan, Britain, a lot of the ex-British colonies. Isn't it even pretty big in China? Probably wrong about that. I know basketball is huge in China nowadays, though. Muslims and Christians at odds over a religious dispute. A group of Muslim and Christians are at odds today over the construction of a church near a mosque. Both sides are claiming that the other should move its place of worship to another place in the city. There have been reports of small skirmishes all over. We need our political power. We're going to back the Muslims. Christians are a minority, and we need to secure a bit more Muslim support, so we're going to back the Muslims. You can't talk shit about cricket while playing India. I've never found cricket to be very interesting myself. But I wasn't raised with it. I grew up playing soccer and basketball and golf, of all things, so I just never got into cricket. Cricket is basically the thing in South Asia for India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, many others. Yeah, it's a huge sport. It's massive. There's a ton of money in it too. Like, it's a very valuable industry. It's just, if you're in the West, especially in America or like non-British European countries, you don't think about it much. We're going to host the next Cricket World Cup. Really? I didn't know that. That's cool. You know what cities it's going to be played in? That's funny because like so few Americans will care about that, as usual. I won't. Can't talk. Soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. Given the continued issues with communists in the East, we're going to go for this next. Prevention of Terrorism Act. Act number 15 of 2002. Well, this happens a bit later. We're going to wait on these. Let's go work on our industry a little bit. Actually, let me look at something. No, we can't actually directly intervene, so that's not really worth going after. Alrighty. True tiger economy. A tiger economy is the economy of a country which undergoes rapid economic growth, usually accompanied by an increase in the standards of living. Which is something like a lot of the really successful nations in Asia are called, like the East Asian tigers, which is South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, Hong Kong. I'm missing one. What's the other one? I think there's one or two more. This was on a test in one of my classes. I should know this. East Asian tigers. Singapore. Fuck. Yeah. Singapore, Hong Kong, South Korea, and Taiwan. Arguably Japan too. Japan created the model for the East Asian tigers, which is just rapid industrialization and economic increase due to having cheap labor and developing industries which are not like agrarian and getting lots of foreign investment. Japan did it first, but all these other countries are Asian tigers. There's a few more too, like what do they call, like the new Asian tigers or something? I forget. It's been a while. Anyway, a lot of countries in Asia have tried to copy that format and have succeeded to varying degrees. Singapore, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's what I forgot. It's also called the Miracle on the Han River in Korea. Where's the Han River? I actually don't know. Is that the one that goes through Seoul? Probably, given they industrialized everything in that city. Okay, we almost have enough to get her. No, we don't. Major power and oligarchs make corruption level reductions so high. Oh, Christ, okay. 465 political power for one corruption level. That is unfortunate. Yeah, we might actually get a rebellion. That's what I don't like. You have to spend all this political power dealing with this when you need your political power for other things. I'm kind of tempted just to let the rebellion trigger and then go about, you know, playing that out. Yeah, I guess the river is the river that goes through Seoul and goes into the Yellow Sea, but I could be wrong. I'm gonna look it up. Now I'm curious. Yep, it's the one that goes through Seoul. Alrighty. How are we looking on the economy? We're not running a really big deficit. I would like to reduce our our debt to GDP ratio, but it's not that bad, and we are going to scale with more factories, so it's not the worst thing. These civilian complexes. Ooh, this will be expensive. I'm doing it. We're going to go for industrial projects to speed up our construction of civilian industry, and then we're going to run a couple more just to make this go a bit quicker. Our unemployment rate has actually gone up too, because our population growth is currently, I believe, larger than our factory construction speed. Not the end of the world, but inconvenient. The Naxals IRL live in the woods and randomly shoot people. I don't think they're strong enough to wage a civil war. There's a lot of them, though, IMC, I believe. There's a lot of Naxalites. Let me look it up. It was more in the 2000s, too. It's been reduced, I know. See if they have an estimate of how many there are right now. So like the militarized active guerrilla army was estimated to be around like 7 to 10,000 in 2013. Not that many really. But I know there's a lot of just regular people who aren't like actively involved in the more terror elements of it that do support like the political ideology, right? That was my understanding of it. I believe. Investment offer from Japan, we will accept. And a trade agreement with Russia, we will accept that too. We're importing a lot of fuel from them. Oh my gosh, we're already almost 2 hours in. Indian rednecks. Call me Indian rednecks. The opposite of American rednecks. I want to do these things, but we need this political power. We got to hold on to it. Speed up a little bit too. I think we're good. Computer can handle a higher speed here. Give it all my processing power. Let me know if the stream feed starts to get weird. I'm giving it all the computer processing power. They would be closer to the Native Americans? Really? I didn't know that. Because they are ethnically different? In the year 2000, the Indian economy experienced a period of significant growth and transformation. It was characterized by gradual liberalization measures initiated in the early 1990s, which continued to shape the economic landscape. With a population of over 1 billion people, India presents a vast consumer market and a labor force that attracts foreign investment. The economy was primarily driven by agriculture, industry, and services. Agriculture employed a large portion of the population, contributing to food security and rural livelihoods. The industrial sector expanded, with manufacturing and textiles playing crucial roles, while services emerged as a major growth engine, particularly in information technology and business process outsourcing. You want to know something really interesting about history that I read about recently and I didn't know about and I found to be really wild? Does anyone know what, like, historically India's biggest wealth-producing industry was, like, prior to the British colonization of India? Does anyone know what it was? Like, what was the industry, you know, given like this wasn't the modern era, what was the industry that provided the most wealth? Yep, textiles. Textiles was like the way most of the Indian states and historical Indian powers generated so much wealth. They made textiles manually prior to the Industrial Revolution and like the loom industry in Britain and Europe. And those textiles were traded all over the world, right? I mean, they went to China, they went to Southeast Asian countries, they went to, you know, Europe, everywhere. Like, it was pretty valuable. And textiles, you know, are never as valuable as like a lot of other goods in modern times. Trying not to make this a victory lecture here, but like it provided a lot of wealth. When the British colonized and conquered many regions of India and then obviously formed the British Raj out of it, they completely stopped all the textile manufacturing there. And as a result, caused many of like the wealthy families, wealthy traders, and a huge industry in India to just collapse, leading to a lot of poverty. And part of the reason for the for the economic crisis that happened in India and a number of other things, because all that textile manufacturing went to Europe as well as went to Britain. Britain became one of the world's largest textile producers in the Industrial Revolution up until the modern era, and took all of that manufacturing away from India, continuing to push it even deeper into poverty, as well as obviously, you know, their rule there, which exacerbated that, which is wild. I didn't know about that. Like, India historically was fairly wealthy, and a lot of that was due to their textile industries, which, you know, went all over the world until the Industrial Revolution and Britain's rise as a superpower, which was, I thought, to be pretty interesting, you know. And they have developed that again in modern times as well, given that they have access to those technologies and the monies to invest in it, right? But the world economy has kind of moved on. I mean, textiles are important, and a lot of countries in Asia do generate a lot of wealth and a lot of exports off of them. But, you know, modern economies and real wealth comes from more, you know, technologies and much, what are they called? Higher value production things. I'm using technical terms here, but, you know, like Taiwan's chip industry, which generates all their wealth, things like that. A group of businessmen have approached us asking us to allocate more startup funds in order to support new companies. Setting up a company is an expensive operation. The state should support small business owners. Absolutely. We're going to throw money into that. We've got Plenty we can throw around. Infrastructure from Indonesia.
Breaking news and in the latest development regarding the riots in London and throughout
The British destroyed the textile industry of India to increase profits of British textile industry. Yeah, they didn't want the competition. Simple as that. So they got rid of it. And they forced the entire economy to go to work on, you know, plantation style food production or other things as well, basic goods, which just fucked up India so badly. The amount of things Britain did to screw over India is just kind of insane. It's not one thing, it's just like everything. Crazy. All right. Gotta have a think here about what I want to prioritize. I'm thinking probably industrial.
Over the fatal shooting of a man by police in London last week, that have since spread to other major cities in England.
Rushing tech early would be a really good idea, though. India in the early 2000s, though, wasn't thinking about the technology industry quite yet. It would develop naturally, but it wasn't like a big government priority. So we probably want to realistically focus on modernizing our agricultural industry or providing actual industrial production. Given again, the BJP, if I recall correctly, has such a big supporter base from farmers and from rural agrarian workers, I think it'd probably be smart to go for agrarian society. As a civilization with deep-rooted agrarian traditions, this step reflects our endeavor to harness the lush countryside to fuel India's economic engine. With a nod to self-sufficiency, the spirit of economic autonomy blossoms, symbolizing a harmonious blend of past wisdom and modern aspirations, slightly warming the hearts of our farmers. Yeah, farmer increase in reputation, which is what we want. We'll go for that. India wouldn't be a state without colonization. You mean like a united one, right? Probably not. It would have been harder to be unified, given all the princes, you know, were so disunified. I mean, it would have relied a lot more on, you know, the alliances made with the various Indian princes and powers, and whether or not like a large military or diplomatic nation kind of formed out of that without British colonial rule. Yeah, a world timeline where Britain didn't colonize India and it stayed autonomous with all their various states would be really interesting from a historical perspective. It's impossible to say which way it would have gone, honestly. No idea. Our textiles were in demand throughout the world, but the native industry couldn't keep up with machines and extra tariffs. Correct. Yeah. Traders had tons of influence pre-colonial India, right? Yes, absolutely. Especially on the coastal regions, which is where I think most of the wealthy Indian states were, right? I think. I got so many games on the go right now, but I'm gonna have to add this to the list. Poison is a great mod, and the new update is fantastic. Highly recommended. We will potentially try and contend our claims in Kashmir, but I'm probably gonna go Indian National Congress, so I don't think we're gonna be outright warlike. We'll see. We'll see where the game takes us and if there's any events that change our path. I don't like to just like choose one explicit path and just like, you know, railroad it down when we kind of try and do semi-realistic games like this, but I'm trying to leaning more towards going INC. Didn't the Mughals conquer all of India? They conquered a lot of it, not all of it. I think there were still parts of southern India which were not within the Mughal Empire, right, in the eastern region. But there were a couple different states historically that did own most of India, not all of it. So, like there was obviously the idea of like India as like a large unified state, even if it was through conquerors, and like a national identity, and that like the idea of it being a continent. So it's not impossible that India could have formed in somewhat similar borders to kind of how it currently is without British colonial rule, but the British did push it down that pathway, you know, in a much more, what's the word? It was kind of bound to happen. Nobody conquers the Tamil kings. Yeah, the southern Indian kingdoms were fucking hardcore, man. Northern India tried to conquer southern India quite a few times in various powers, and it was not easy. Turns out fighting in thick jungles with very martially aggressive nations is hard, you know. There was some Greek conqueror who found something like that out as well when he went to India. It's not as extreme. Let's do some army exercises on the border of China, just to flex on them. Same with Pakistan. All the Indian cultures would have revolted against Mughal rule eventually. Brits took advantage of anti-Islamic sentiment to expand the region anyways. Yeah, the British played their cards really well in getting all the princes to fight each other and just slowly subsuming the whole continent. Like, you can hate the British Empire and you should, but you can't deny their foreign policy tended to be very good. The Brits were so adept at getting like countries and regions to fight each other and then take advantage. Like, look at any part of the world and there's like an extensive amount of history at the British Empire making regional powers or a country fight itself and then just taking advantage of that situation, right? Like, so many cases of that. They had a very effective foreign ministry. It was pretty impressive, just used for the worst reasons. The geographical idea of India has been described in many texts. It's old as fuck. Colonization of India is textbook example of divide and rule, 100%. Imagine if all the formerly princely states of India were releasable nations in Millennium Dawn. I don't think they are, but let me check. No, they're not. That would be funny though. Be interesting. Civil War India. If they ever did that, there'd be a YouTube video about that within like 2 days. Ladakh is a releasable country, and Kashmir is too. Kamtapur is releasable. No, but the princes aren't. As a creator of the tree, I'm very happy many Indians actually have seen my work. Greetings from Armenia. Oh yeah, man. I think a lot will. Cool, dude, I will say I put out a good number of Millennium Dawn like tutorials and like playthrough videos, and like the comment I get the most is like always like Indian folks asking for an Indian tree. So this focus tree is going to be played by a lot of Indians. That's going to happen because there's a lot of Indian people who play Millennium Dawn. So yeah, it will be heavily played, I think. The British pitted everyone against everyone else. They really deepened the roots of communal and religious hatred that we still see today. Yeah, there's a lot of world problems which kind of go back to Britain or France, but you know, what happens when you form global empires. And if they weren't going to do it, others would have tried. So kind of, unfortunately, an inevitable thing. I love that the British failed to colonize some region in Africa because tribes there didn't have hierarchical structures, so the British would have to bribe hundreds of tribal leaders. Oh, what do you mean you don't have a centralized government? Ugh, non-Europeans. So uncivilized. See if there's any alt history stuff happening already. It's still the first year, so I doubt it, but look. No, nothing too crazy. For us, the most important part of like countries choosing their focus tree will be what route China goes down. Because China's political path has like the hardliner option or the Z option, and where they go on that is going to really dictate how we interact with them. Their tree is another fantastic one. If you like HOI4, if you like Millennium Dawn, do a China playthrough. Don't get intimidated by it. Just play the game on slow speed. Take your time, pause when you need to, play single player. It's a great tree and it's a really fun playthrough. It's very well done. I hope we get an expansion on it someday, but the current version is fantastic. The French had Bengal before the Brits, right? I thought they had some of the cities. I don't think they had like a large region of it. French had a number of cities they took on the coastline of India. Same with the Portuguese. I think the Dutch had one or two as well, right? Same with Portugal. A lot did. But it was always like, typically it was like just parts of cities that on maps always give the wrong impression of actual ownership. Secured food source. Our agrarian roots beckon us to secure the sources that have fed our civilization through ages. This initiative, a pledge of allegiance to our farmers, not only symbolizes our commitment to agricultural stability, but also empowers the nation with a political vigor, forging a path towards a self-sustained economy. Also, for this playthrough, I am going to be doing the fun route, and I'll do save edits if I have to. So when we get elections, you guys get to decide. So I'll put up a poll for like... My neighbor's doing. Okay, it's good. I'll put up a bunch of like the really popular parties for election, and then you guys get to decide where we go. If it's just radically unrealistic, I might change the results a little bit, but I'll try and keep it kind of how y'all vote. So we'll do that route. I did that last couple times in the grand campaign for HOI4, and I actually really liked that. So I think we're gonna keep doing it to make elections more interesting. I've become a lot more comfortable doing save edits in like these games if it's done for interesting reasons. So why not? Not just, you know, giving us money or political power or stats for free. Right, we're close to doing our first level of corruption reduction, but we really got to go after this commies, don't we? We're going to raid the Maoists in South Odisha. Oh boy, wow. The Maoists did win it. Unified Marxist-Leninist Communist Party of Nepal. Led by Pushpa Kamal Dahal. This is not realistic. The communists did not win the civil war, but it'll make things interesting. We have a communist state on our border, meaning we are going to have to redeploy part of our military, I would say. We have many issues with communists in our country. We are fiercely opposed to them. And the Maoist party would be very friendly with the Chinese, so they are now a security threat. As a result, we will be deploying a contingent of our military on the border and fiercely militarizing all those checkpoints. No more easy border crossings. Did they win? I didn't think they did, technically. I thought it was a coalition, like the peace agreement kind of made a collaborative thing. Let me look. Nepalese Civil War. It was the comprehensive peace accord that came as a result. The peace accord marked the end of the Nepalese Civil War beginning in 96 and was signed in 2006. The Maoist People's Liberation Army was to be placed in temporary containments where they would be rehabilitated and reintegrated into society, and the monarchist army to be confined within the barracks. Both armies to be monitored and supervised by the UN mission to Nepal. Strict implementation of all previous pacts and agreements reaching between the governments and the Maoists. Termination of the military action and armed mobilization. Both sides to assist each other in maintaining law, order, and peace. Both sides to commit each other to international human rights. The king would be stripped of all political power, and his property would be nationalized under public trust. Scrap the Maoist political administration across the country. Strong punitive policy to curb corruption and confiscate property earned illegally through corruption. Yeah, so the Maoists kind of lost out in the peace treaty. They didn't formally lose, but it was like the democratic government that took power that won it. The monarchists lost, the Maoists kind of lost, and remember correctly. But didn't the Maoist party like not technically get full control? Like they got given part of the assembly? I didn't think they technically formally won though. No, the Nepalese Communist Party did formally take power. Later. So it turned into like a more non-violent movement towards the end. The king was forced out of power and the monarchy dissolved. And then the House of Representatives were brought back, wherein the Maoists and then the communists like won like a lot of the seats. It did kind of have a diplomatic ending. It wasn't like a military victory, it was a peaceful one. That's interesting. But kind of a victory for the communists. It was very a weird political situation brought about kind of by the monarchy seizing power and things like that. But it ended non-violently. Okay. So kind of realistic, I guess. But in this timeline, it was won militarily. So a little bit different. And 5 years early. Nepal and Bhutan need India for access to global markets. Yeah, because they're not getting it through China. So in the In the other day, they are pretty much under control of India when it comes to foreign policy, but they do whatever they want internally. Yeah. India collaborates much more with Nepal, I know, than China does. China sends a lot of workers in to do infrastructure projects in Nepal, though, which has been a big issue there because Nepal has a lot of like migratory labor that will move around the country to work on projects, and their jobs have been taken by Chinese workers in recent years, which has been a huge issue there. That I do know. Artillery training on the Pakistani border as well. Huh. Yeah, I just did not fully understand kind of how the Nepalese Civil War ended. Should do more reading on that, honestly. Beautiful. We're really gonna have to keep doing this thing for the civil... God, 10 days. I'm taking the Civil War. I'm not spending this political power. Because we have to keep doing it over... Oh, I see. You have to keep doing it, and then they get, like, non-rebellious. It's too late, though. We're gonna get the Civil War, so... Alright, here we go. I think. Is this an insta-Civil War? 8 days. Doing one of these is 15, so I'm not gonna waste the political power. I know that the Chinese, like, rebels were a huge issue in the early 2000s, but the political power sink you have to put into it suggests that the government would do nothing else, which I don't think is accurate, so... We'll take it this route. See what happens here. Rebellion situation. They did some climate change stuff, solar panels, etc. in Nepal. When there's no fossil fuels in the region, it's so hard to import it. Makes sense. Y'all should see the roads in Nepal. Trying to move anything like goods is just fucking wild. And moving things by air is so hard too, because landing in a lot of the airstrips, even in the major cities, is sketchy. I think the two big cities are Pokhara in the west, and then Kathmandu, obviously, in the east. Kathmandu is the big city. Pokhara is the other really big one. A lot of it is just rural. Hard to get to. Roads are really bad. Go that route then. Renewable energy, sure. Leaving it as it is. In a world ever thirsty for energy, we turn our gaze towards harnessing the green winds and sun-kissed solar fields. Though demanding a measured investment, this initiative represents a leap towards renewable self-sufficiency, covering a niche and sustained modernity amidst our agrarian legacy. So we'd be building these in rural regions, which would be very useful, and continue to support the farming base, which we're trying to do, so we'll go for that next. Great decision. The Malice 2, Strength of the Mouse 12, Popularity Mouse 4.3. So I guess every time it goes through, it increases their political influence or their strength. I don't see a description of the mechanics unless I'm missing it here. Are we back on Synthwave again? Play one more time, then we'll find another music genre to play. I really do like the Millennium Dawn music. Testudo, such a good job on it. I learned I don't remember as much about middle school Eastern geopolitics as I thought I did when trying to invade Afghanistan as China after the Northern Alliance won. Cut the deal with not only a NATO intervention, but even Iran said, nah, fuck that and joined the West. Fuck. Oh, Christ. Okay. Well, we'll keep doing it. We need our political power, though. God damn it. Nepal has the highest hydropower potential per capacity in the world. Really? That's difficult to utilize. Huh. I didn't think they had really big rivers. I guess just given like the height difference, right, that water would be moving like top to bottom, right, it would be perfect for that sort of thing. But I didn't think Nepal had any just like massive rivers. I guess that's just the case of like, you know, the altitude from like waterfall off from the mountains, I would imagine then. Mage, is that why it's so useful? Because I'm trying to think of any major rivers in Nepal and I can't think of any. I mean, they have them, but they're not, you know, huge like certain places have. If you ignore their strength will rise and they will eventually start a civil war, but they are really slow to rise, although you get very bad state modifiers. Okay, I got you, sure. They export electricity to India. Huh. A lot of tributaries in the Ganges flow through Nepal. I see. Okay. Oh, it starts. Okay, I see. Yeah. More, you know. We have successfully counted the activities in the region. Let's just start cleaning out these one by one. We'll need to clean out Calcutta too, because I'm actually going to industrialize that. Start radiation, then we're going to clean out Calcutta. And we'll slow off after that. The Iceland of Asia. It's a beautiful country. I went hiking there for like a month or something like that. It was really cool. Dude, just such a pretty area of the world. Any mountain range is honestly going to look really nice. I don't think I've ever seen a mountain range that didn't look beautiful in certain regions, but dude, Himalayas are different. Have I tried to do patrol boats? Yeah, I did it while testing for my naval video. They're funny. If you engage a fleet with patrol boats in littoral waters, you clap basically everything in the game, including the American fleet. But if you fight in any other water terrain, they're unviable. I think they're a little memey. I enjoy them, but I wish they'd get debuffed a little bit. I'm going to be honest. They're kind of broken in littoral waters if you use them right. You can sink carriers. Very full from mountain to plain, which can generate a lot of electricity due to height. Yeah, okay, makes sense. About what we're gonna do next. I'm probably just gonna try and push down for like corporate expansion, tea and coffee exports. Those industries already exist. It will support the farmers. It will continue to support the ruling class. We're going very capitalist, obviously, so I think that's where we're gonna work on starting out. Is the reason patrol boats are so scary for battleships in World War II? Iran doesn't adopt a guerrilla-like naval doctrine for nothing. Yeah, but has it ever worked for them? Riddle me that. Name when those patrol boats have actually worked properly against any modern fleet. Embracing the ethos of Backdash, this initiative propels local industries into a new era of development. With a modest investment, we pave the way for burgeoning infrastructure, promising a blend of traditional craftsmanship and modern efficiency. Additional income and construction speed. Nice. Shit, these fucking PT boats. Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if Iran is the nation you want to talk about patrol boats working with, man. Honestly, I don't know if that should be your example. Other nations do it to degrees. Iran hasn't succeeded very well with that. Yeah, Norway, there's a good example. But it's not like they've had to contend many major pirate issues or, you know, global powers with their navies, right? So. Good for guarding the coastline, stopping drug smugglers and stuff. We still haven't. Oh, we gotta do one more on a D shed. Jesus, this is expensive. So the modifier is all on reducing your available resources and recruitable population. Those aren't useful to us. Resources are, so. Awad, maybe. Nope. No, none of those are really that bad for us. We'll just do what we have to stop the rebellion and then just chill. I'm not saying they're good at it. I was using them as an example because they're the only country I know that does that. From a defense and economic and procurement standpoint, there is a reason they made the decision over having a blue water fleet. Sure, yeah, they didn't want to invest in a navy, which is fair, especially given how many powers have like huge naval presences, which they couldn't contend in the what's it called? Persian Gulf. Due to all the oil coming out of there. But, you know, I don't know why, like, it's tough to even call like their patrol boat fleet like anything resembling a navy, right? They should just, you know, barely fund it and focus everything on air, which they've kind of done. Well, they're a very famous 5th generation fighter jet, right? That we all know about. And a significant development, the oncoming forces have captured the final stronghold in Nepal, bringing it into a long drawn-out conflict that's plagued the country for years. While the fall of the kingdom is undoubtedly a turning point. While the capture of the final stronghold is undoubtedly a significant milestone, concern remains about the potential for the movement to escalate with the neighboring nations. The international community has been closely monitoring the situation, and many calling for a peaceful resolution to any potential conflicts. We're not gonna take corruption. Not even for economic growth. Turkey has a drone carrier? That's actually interesting and viable. Turkish drone carrier. Turkey kind of has actually a pretty good modern navy. The TCG Anadolu. You got regular aircraft on it too from the looks of it. Is that the Anadolu, Mage? Command Center flagship. Yeah, interesting. I know Turkish drone technology is really good. Yeah, you got a bunch of Bactriars on there. Bactriars? Bactriars? You know the song. Pretty sick. Budget carrier. Because their patrol boats are dated and have poor crews. Google these gold class. Screen too. Kind of interesting. Oh, the Norwegian, I bet that is. That's a Corvette though. If you want to talk about like cheap ships though, that's fair. Norwegian Navy is actually very advanced. I mean, they have so much fucking money though from their goddamn oil wealth. Goldman's Shield, class of 6 light, super fast stealth missile corvettes. Torpedo boats. $99, wow. Thank you for the sub, Delusion. Appreciate it. Those are small, though. Light gun, missiles. I think I saw a video of those as well, actually, when I was looking for videos for the naval video. They shoot a lot of torpedoes, remember, right? They're funny looking, though. Oh, man. The Vizzy class is a Corvette, bigger version of this ship. Ah, see, okay. I'm really happy with the Turkish military industry these days. They are not advanced as the US, but it's quite efficient when it comes to price and performance. Yeah, no, Turkey, your domestic military industry is one of the most modern ones in the world, which is unexpected, given Turkey's like economic recent history in your government. I can talk shit on Erdogan. I know you don't like him either. That's pretty cool looking. I've never heard of that one. Have y'all, one more ship we'll go before I go back really quickly. Have any of you guys read about that stupid fucking design for like, what is it, modern cruiser the US made? What was the name of that thing? Yeah, littoral class combat ships. These are fucking funny. We spent so much money on them. They're fucking wild looking too. Yeah. Look at the design on them. It was like one of the more recent designs for ships that the US was looking into using. And we built like 5 or 6 of them, I think. They were insanely expensive. What class of ship is that? Littoral combat ships. Littoral combat ship is either of the two classes of relatively small surface vessels designed for operations near shore by the US Navy. It was envisioned to be a networked, agile, stealthy surface combatant capable of defeating anti-access and asymmetrical threats in littoral seas, which are obviously again close to coastlines and don't have like really deep depth. Again, I will never pretend like I know Navy very well or I'm an expert, but like I do find it interesting from like a the word, a casual perspective. But they've had so many issues. Let's see if it has some of the details on that. They've been we've stopped building them. Incredibly expensive, operational issues. Start. 2012 report by Real Admiral Samuel Perez found that ships lacked the manpower and firepower to complete the missions required by regional combatant commanders. The report found that the LCS is ill-suited for combat operations against anything but small, fast boats not armed with anti-ship missiles. It also found that the excessive beam width of the ships may pose a navigational challenge in narrow waterways and tight harbors, which is what they were designed for. The report also found that a contractor-based maintenance scheme for the ships had led to poorly supervised and unaccountable contractors leaving for all. Actually need our command power to recruit some more generals. That's Blair, right? And then I know that Boris Johnson's in this song too at the end.
You cannot. And she is right. We take our freedom for granted. But imagine not to be able to speak or discuss or debate or even question the society you live in.
70 years ago, Europe was being torn apart by its second catastrophic conflict in a generation. A war which saw the streets of European cities strewn
Our expectation spending. We're overspending on defense and we're spending what we need to on everything else, so we're good. We could actually decrease our defense budget, but we're not going to. Not with the recent war with Pakistan and with our conflict with the Chinese on the border.
And I said that I wanted to
Yeah, there he
lead a
is.
campaign to get Britain to leave the European Union.
I think it's supposed to just be like a epic conglomeration of speeches. This song does sound good. It's just, you know, you hear some of them and you do a double take like, wait, what is he saying? Not just the painter either. Nigel Farage. I know Johnson's in this too. I thought he was. Nigel Farage? Yeah, he fucked that country pretty fucking hard, didn't he?
I will remember the look of concern on my father's face.
Is there anyone in Britain still arguing that Brexit was a good thing?
Could of course share that.
Like, are any of the conservatives still like on the Brexit was the good decision boat? I can't imagine any are at this point. Well, you think Brexit is good? That's an opinion. Hear me out. Oh God, here we go. But we've negotiated good trade treaties. It did sound good on paper. You're right. No, the arguments made for Brexit didn't sound dumb. They didn't. Some of them did sound very reasonable. Did they work out remotely how it was suggested they would? No, absolutely not. But it did sound good on paper. Some of it did. If I was British and I got a semi-erection every time I saw a picture of the Royal Palace and studied British history, I'd be pro-Brexit. I'll be honest at the time with the arguments being made. It sounded reasonable. But it was predicated on Britain still being economically fairly relevant. And it's not that they're not irrelevant. It's just, it was predicated on Britain being more influential than they were and are, right? That's the problem. And I think a lot of Brits probably realize that now at this point. I like Britain a lot, but it's starting to happen in America too, right? America's massively lost its economic and political and military power. It's still incredibly powerful, especially militarily. No one should contend that and could, right? But its economic and political influence has declined rapidly in the last 20 years. And you still will meet plenty of Americans who just don't understand that and still think that we are the shit. And it's not really. And I think Brexit was kind of that version of that for a lot of British people, where reality met expectations and they didn't really, they didn't cooperate very well, you know? And America's going to have that same issue pretty soon, I think. We're going to make a lot of dumb political decisions because we think that we are more relevant and stronger than we are, and then we're going to see what happens. Kanzuk is interesting. I don't think it will, but it is interesting conceptually. I don't think a lot of those countries will really cooperate with y'all on that level. I'm going to be honest. But it is interesting if it does actually go down. It's possible. Pakistan has a lot of soldiers on the border. We might actually want to deploy some more here. How are we looking on equipment? We have an APC problem. Second generation, that is disgusting. We gotta put him out, so I guess we'll have to. I'm just gonna put out the most basic bitch one we can here. I want to make our XP cost just so low. Battle stations really need to get buffed. Not amazing, but it's not worthless if we put some of these out. I want to wait until we get better technology to boost these en masse. But on the low chance possibility that we do somehow get in a war of Pakistan or something, we should probably make some of these. Just so we can hold the front. The USA is failing now. Yep. Yeah. It's declining for sure. I'm still convinced the Queen died because Liz Truss became Prime Minister. That would have happened and she'd outlive Charles. People talk about America in just such radically different sides though. Either people will deify it and act like it's perfect, or they'll act like it's the literal devil. And much like every other country, it's not. It's just a mixed bag of a lot of good and a lot of bad things. I used to be very anti-American when I was younger. I'm not anymore. When I talk to Europeans, I get very defensive of America. And when I talk to Americans, I tend to be very critical of America. Because both have very opposite points of view, right? If you talk to a lot of Americans about America, they act like it does nothing wrong and they don't understand what it really does, especially foreign policy wise, you know? And it's always oh Christ, come on, you gotta know this shit, man. And then we talk to Europeans and then they don't understand America either. And they'll just make broad generalities about why it sucks. And it's no, fuck you. I'm sorry, what country are you from again? Shut the fuck up. It's so weird, dude. I don't know. My feelings on America are so mixed. I import terrorists. As we usher in high import tariffs, we make a bold declaration of our intent to foster indigenous industries. This initiative, rooted in a desire for economic sovereignty, hints at a larger self-reliant India, with ripples of stability echoing through the political corridors. Very nice construction speed bonus there for a year, which we definitely need. Our civs are not going as quickly as I would like. I love my country and I'm quite critical of it. Yep, that's the way to do it. You can be patriotic and critical. They're not mutually exclusive. We're gonna stay out of this and let them decide. Stereotypically, Europeans will love the US, see all of it as California, and those who hate it see all of it as the Deep South. Yeah. America's just such a big country. It's just there's a lot of different Americas, right? Like, you know, state by state culture is very different, you know, which European nations typically won't understand. Some will, but a lot won't, because their countries are so small. They tend to be ethnically so similar. Not ethnically, culturally they're so similar. I mean, Europe kind of almost has a bit of a super culture developing combined with internet culture, which has caused a lot of similarities. And a lot of countries in Europe not having a lot of different cultural groups, or if they do, they're very small and they don't usually care about them. Other countries like, you know, from big Asian ones and stuff will understand it a little bit better, but big countries rarely are similar. Like, there's just so many different types of people, which makes it really hard to pin down. But, you know, we all still make generalities. I do too. What you do. We're gonna keep US aid. Kind of want to get rid of it, but it is useful to us right now. It's like beating up your own brother. It's okay for you to do it, but the moment someone else does it, you protect them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that was like that with my sister. I always bullied my sister when I was young. But then the moment like another kid like attacked her, beat the shit out of him. It's the same thing, right? Like, you know, only I get to talk shit on America. You can be critical, but if you get too hard, I'm gonna start roasting your country, you know? Fuck you. Most people like that with their countries. Go to follow Behoovy. The UK is geographically small, but we have so many different cultures. You do, but they're a lot more similar than certain cultures are in other countries. Because you've just kind of been together for so long. But yeah, I mean, you do. Like the Welsh, the Scottish, Northern Irish. They're very culturally different. But not as culturally different as, say, you know, Native American communities in the US and yuppie liberal elites in New York City, right? There's a much wider cultural difference there. Cornwall too, yeah, for sure. India's definitely one of the most multicultural countries in the world, definitely. Yeah, probably. I'm trying to think any others that would be more multicultural. China's the only other one who could probably continue, but they're in the process of like paving over non-Han communities, right? So that doesn't count. They're gonna all be gone within a couple decades. African countries? I don't know. I mean, like, if you want to go down to like individual tribes, yes, but if you're talking like big, dramatically different, religiously and culturally different groups within a single country in large amounts, India is definitely the poster child. Oh, we're definitely backing the Hindus here. In one of the larger and more densely populated cities, a group of Hindus and Muslims begin fighting over an unknown dispute. What is known, however, is that both sides are actively ripping each other to pieces, and it is seriously taking a toll on the police force. We will back the Hindus. We are the BJP party. Republic of the Congo, yeah, that is true. Like, you do have like some African countries which were just basically 50 different groups thrown together. Congo is a good example of that, for sure. But yeah, those are probably the only ones that could contend it. Russia before Russification. Yeah, but if you want to talk like countries before they ethnically cleansed everyone, then you're talking about a very different situation, right? Russia has managed to make not a monoculture, but definitely reduced the amount of other ones dramatically through various methods. Almost reduced corruption levels. Come on, baby. Just a reminder, if you play Millennium Dawn and you are struggling economically, your biggest issue is just go look at your corruption. If you are struggling with Millennium Dawn and your economy is never doing well, go look at your corruption and reduce your corruption. It is so bad for your country. You gotta reduce it, and it's rough. You gotta save up political power and do whatever you gotta do to increase your political power. But speaking of the devil, let's go for an extensive centralized bureaucratic state. We'll do some major reforms in Delhi to overhaul our administrative systems, and maybe do a little bit of backhanded political bribing as well. You know, if we're getting a little corruption, we have corruption level 7, we might as well use the system to get rid of it, right? We definitely won't get corrupted by it. Okay, Indonesia's a good one. That's true. Indonesia's a good one. You're right about that. So many different cultures with Indonesia. It's kind of crazy. Malaysia to a lesser degree as well, but definitely Indonesia. That's very true. Completely didn't think about them. Export regulation. With a rich tapestry of natural resources, export regulation epitomizes our stride towards a balanced exploitation of our bounty. This initiative encapsulates our attempt to retain the essence of our soil, marking a prudent step in nurturing self-reliant economy. Oh, yeah. All these focuses are giving us way more resource output, which hopefully will result in countries buying our goods, and will eventually do when they get to better technologies and actually need them. Let's see if we're actually exporting much. Iran, Thailand, Iran, Saudi, Thailand. We are actually exporting a good amount of our resources. Let's see if we can get a trade deal with the US. That'd be big. Doable. Let's improve our relations with them. I got a trade agreement with the French too. The energy mechanic complicates economics by a lot for me, but I also started an Iran playthrough on my first time in 1.9. I am working on a video on it. It'll be probably out in a week or two. There's no videos this weekend. I'll have some more next weekend, but I am working on an eco guide for that. The simplest way I can put it to you, you just import fuel. Like honestly, if you want to develop your own like domestic, I'm gonna give you like the meta take on how you deal with energy. The meta way to get energy with the update on Millennium Dawn is you got to go to your researches. And you want to research 2 branches. A, you want to reduce this one, home electrification revolution. It'll reduce how much energy you use. And then second, you want to develop your solar industry because it's actually the most efficient when you get the technology advanced. So research this line, and then research this line, and then build renewable energy. Because you'll start to build it quicker, and you'll start to generate more energy very quickly when you grab those techs, right? So play out that in the long term, and then in the short term, just import fuel you need to meet your demands, and then develop these techs, build renewable energies, and then before long, you'll have a surplus. So that's my recommendation. Am I planning to make another RP server? Probably not, I'm gonna be honest. After Babylon Roleplay, probably not. There's another server I may end up supporting, but I don't want to be involved. I don't know. I put so much time into like working on developing a roleplay community just to have that shit happen. So probably not. Probably gonna work on other things now. A lot of my time going in the future that I used to spend on like the server and things like that, I'm gonna be spending on the history channel on YouTube I'm making with Eli, which I'm excited for. We've done our first like planning for that. We started to work on our early videos, I think this coming week probably. And we're gonna be launching that in the summer of 2024, where we're working on that. So yeah, all that time I used to work on roleplay games and stuff, I'm gonna be putting, I think I'd probably working on that other YouTube channel, which is really exciting. And I'm really excited for, because I love history, and my editing skills, when I actually spend the time, are not bad, and Eli's got pretty good editing skills, so I think we're gonna be able to make some pretty cool stuff with that channel, honestly. Yep. And the one that turned away, like I don't know, the easiest way I just describe it now is I got cooed. That's what it was, right? Dustin, who I brought on to help like with running the server like around a year ago, something like that, a little over a year and stuff like that. Basically he did a lot of work. He did more and more stuff and cooperated with me on a lot of things. And he really wanted to push for monetization of the server and things like that, and charging money for things. And then some very sketchy things got proposed for what we're gonna do with the money, which I didn't agree to. And then it resulted with me getting a little bit inactive in the server over the last 6 months or so, because a lot of reasons essentially. But as a result, he kind of, I don't know even how it went at this point. I don't know still the details of it, but he talked to a lot of different people. Kind of, in the end, he resulted in just basically demanding that I give him the server, or he was going to make a new one and, in his words, destroy the server, because he suggested that most of the staff was going to leave with him. I didn't deal with that situation when it happened the best, I don't think. I talked to a few other members of like the managers of the server and things like that and asked them, you know, what was going on, if they supported. And like, I got very vague answers such that I thought the situation was different than it was. Discord drama, exactly. It was the stupidest shit, man. Like, it was just a casual community that I'd originally built for fun for multiplayer games, and it got turned into this like political game bullshit, which I'm not gonna spend time dealing with. I'm just not going to. So, kind of a shame, but it's a typical case though of like, you know, positions of influence attract the worst people, and I don't know. So I hope that the server continues to work well and that some of the things that were discussed don't happen, but we'll see. I sure as fuck am not going to be supporting after what happened, and I left the server and I'm just moving on. What was that? So, what's up, Blue? Thank you for the raid. What's up, brother? How you doing? We are playing India in Millennium Dawn, which is the modern day mod for HOI4, which is good at two things: having great focus trees and burning out your GPU. Hopefully it won't do that, but it is very intensive on your computer. We just got started. It is 2001. The BJP Conservative Party under Vajpayee is in power, and we are working on stopping the communist rebellion in the east and allowing for sustainable agriculture. Not as exciting as conquering things in HOI4, but it's still a lot of fun. Appreciate that raid. Lou, can one of my mods give a shout out to him really quickly? If not, I can do it. I'll do it in my Twitch chat. But I think there are a few mods here. Much appreciated. You should declare war on China right now. No. Absolutely not. This will not be a quick war HOI4 style game. This is going to be more simulating the modern era, doing economic development and demanding territories in Kashmir, which may or may not result in major wars. So, Millennium Dawn is much more chill. It's much more modern. You can play it as a war simulator. That's entirely doable, but I tend not to. Juke back standard fail RP. You're not wrong. Well, threaten them with nukes. That's the accurate way to put it. Do more army exercises on the border. Have a good one. I will see you around. Have a good rest of your day. What time is it in India? Isn't it like 5 a.m. in India right now? It's 3 a.m. That's fair. I won't lie. I will go to sleep at that time quite often. You haven't played HOI in so long. It's a really fun game. The mods for it are fantastic. There's so many good mods for HOI4. You can play the game forever, really. Thank you for doing the shout out. Appreciate it. Wait. Shout out for Grover. Is that the right person? Hold on. Creamy. Shit. Well, it's on Grover. Grover, you also stream too, right? So that works. Grover's a chill streamer, definitely worth watching too, so that works. Do you know if you play as Pakistan, if there's options connected to the intelligence agency? There is not, Aces. Nope, there is not, unfortunately. I wish there was, because Pakistani intelligence does so much wild shit, but sadly not. Sadly not. Instead of RP games, I'm gonna start streaming RP games again, but what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start like probably joining more casual style games. I will run another Millennium Dawn RP campaign probably sometime in the spring, but the way I'm gonna do it is just invitational. Like, I know a lot of pretty good RPers, so I'm just gonna DM a bunch of people I really like in terms of like their roleplay quality, and I'll get probably like 8 to 10 players together for like a roleplay Millennium Dawn game sometime in spring, I think. And then I do want to do some more RP in the future, but I think I'm probably just gonna start trying to do some more casual, you know, meme HOI4 style stuff, because I do kind of miss that, you know. It's fun. It is a lot of fun. You know, like Tommy K, discard pixel style, where I don't know, when you do like the roleplay that we used to do on the server, it's like, it's very serious. You gotta really like, you know, put effort in, you gotta do high quality. And that's fun, but it's also fun just to, you know, do an accent and fuck around. So doing a bit more of that would be a lot of fun. Tea, coffee, let's dance. Amidst the global climate for our aromantic brews, we dance to the tunes of economic opportunity. This initiative, while expanding our resource horizons, also subtly stirs the political landscape, encapsulating India's delicate balance between tradition and modernity, while inching towards greater domestic autonomy. So we're really working on expanding our agriculture, primarily with coffee and tea, and with exports to the rest of the world, which is fairly valuable. A lot of tea growing in India. huge amount of the agricultural land is used for that. I think so, actually. Could you join the MD game? Perhaps. We'll see. I haven't decided who I'll invite for that. It's just in the future. It's an idea. So that'd be pretty later around. We'll see. My plan was to get probably players on all the big countries and then just roleplay it out slowly. I have no set list or anything yet. Beautiful. There it is. I'm just gonna hold off on it. I want to at least reduce one level of corruption before we keep trying to deal with the communists, honestly. I have to go for 3 hours. I just realized I deployed my air along and we have not been training them. So let's move them up to the north and get our Air Force training. Again, we don't actually produce any planes. So when I stopped doing pure research entirely just on, a lot of drones do, on, what's it called? Technology bonuses. I am going to get us to start working on our Air Force to develop some of our own domestic aircraft. Being reliant on foreign powers for buying them is such a bad idea. So we want to go for 4th generation medium aircraft. That's what we really are going to want. My bad, light, not medium. Those will take quite a while. And I want our other slots, given we only have 4 right now, to be working on construction bonuses, more energy production, and then obviously research bonuses in the beginning. Given this is Millennium Dawn and we're not like about to walk immediately into a war in like 38 like base HOI4, in the beginning I recommend you always go for those just big bonuses. It's the same thing in like, you know, vanilla HOI4, you go after the research bonus text. Always worth it. Yeah, I missed the Victory games, Jordan. I missed those a lot, sadly. They were a lot of fun. I don't know if there's any other communities that do Victoria RP. I hope there are. There's another YouTuber, I've seen 1 or 2 of his videos, and they kind of do RP, but it's also just like the Cohen style, you know? Just shit talking, which could be fun too, but I do miss the pure RP games of Victory. All right, let's start doing counterintelligence. AI will go after our country with spies, so we need to actually build up our defense rating. Remember, AI will do the corruption intelligence agency mission on you, which is really bad. So always get spies in Millennium Dawn if you're a major country, and make sure you always have at least 1 on defense. Just a very strong recommendation there. I want to click these buttons, but I'm not going to. Speed up a little bit too. No alt history. Bush won the election. We've got a Bush presidency. We are historical. Yeah, it's only a year and a half into the game, so I'm surprised. You have a group of people you do Victory RP with? I do not. No, I'm going to look for one. I just don't want to try and sit down and organize another community again. It's just such a pain. Don't underestimate Bush. He does have some of the best strategery in the world, so you got to look out for that. His strategical strategery is strategically quite significant. Any building tips for building a strong agency for soft power and such? I'm actually going to make a guide for this on Millennium Dawn. It's one of the videos I'm still finishing up right now. Generally speaking, when you build your spy agency, you immediately want to get upgrades. I think it's 6 or 7 upgrades for 1 agent in Millennium Dawn. It's higher than base game, so max out your counterintelligence. If you're a country with occupied regions that are not your cores, always get counterinsurgency. It is so useful. Also, always upgrade, black operations. Because again, every upgrade will give you more agents, which you want. Black operations is a good one to prioritize because it gives you bonuses to your special forces, which is huge, right? Special forces divisions are some of the strongest in Millennium Dawn, since now Marine IFVs are special forces and things, so always max this out. And make sure you get a cybersecurity division as well. You just want to start getting cheap upgrades. They are 10 billion a pop, so it's kind of tough to do if you're not a major, but max intel agency. If you are power of non-cores, max counterinsurgency. If not, max black operations, and then cybersecurity and going up on cyber warfare. That'd be my recommendation. Yeah, Victory multiplayer also still needs some more balancing. I know even after 1.9, there's been a lot of issues with it, so that's a real shame. Coffee production. As the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafts through the air, we delve into enhancing our coffee production. I like how this is like descriptive writing ASMR for this focus tree, blending modern agri-tech with age-old practices. This venture, although requiring a modest investment, fortifies our agrarian bonds and lays the foundation for a sprawling industrial landscape amidst the verdant coffee estates. I gotta say though, the writing on this focus tree is actually solid. Some of the MD focus trees, especially the economic ones, will make my brain shut off, but at least these have descriptive writing. I didn't know I wanted coffee described in detail to put me into the room with it in a focus tree, but now I know that's something I want, so these are nice to actually read. Instead of the industrial opportunities in our nation are being expanded with growth through a wide variety of industries. I think that's a good example of writing you might see in other focus trees, not just in AMD, but a lot of HOI4 mods and in vanilla for industrial focuses, which is always fun. Millennium Dawn is up to date with the latest updates, and it's up for completely up to date. It's got the designers for aircraft now too, so definitely recommend playing it. Diplomacy is broken. The UK gave me Canada because I helped him win against 1,000 tribals. Yeah, playing with the AI in HOI4 is in Victoria 3 is a little brutal. It does ruin your immersion pretty quickly. Our debt to GDP ratio is starting to go up here. I may stop our industrial projects. Let's see if we can free up any more of our factories from trade though. First off. Makes me want coffee. Same here. I do have a sudden and intense desire for more caffeine. Always fun. Put it up a little bit more. Be it. Yeah, I think we can do our first one. Yes, we can. Let's reduce our corruption from unrestrained corruption to systemic corruption. We also have a trade deal offer from Turkmenistan. Are they buying any of our goods? You're not buying our goods. There's really no downside here. Maybe they will actually import some of our stuff, so we might as well, but that seems kind of useless, not gonna lie. What's up, Zesty Potato? You may have never watched me before, but I've watched you before. I'm in your drywall right now, staring through that crack, looking right at you, at your computer. This is a projection. This is Millennium Dawn. It's a mod for HOI4. It is a modern day mod, starts in 2000, and includes like so many like changes to the game. It's basically a standalone game, but it uses HOI4. It's pretty good. Next CK3 campaign will probably be the next grand campaign, I'd say. We're almost in Stellaris. I mean, we got one more session, I think, of HOI4, and then we're going to Stellaris, which would be probably another month or two. 2 months, probably 3 months. And then we're going... I'll start the new grand campaign, I'm thinking probably in March, so it may be a little while. Jesus Christ. Thank you for the raid, LMG. I appreciate that, man. What is up? See if I can do a shout out for him as well. Out. LMG plays a lot of HOI4. Always very entertaining and fun to watch. There we go. Appreciate the raid. We are currently playing India in Millennium Dawn. And we have just gotten started. We are around 2 years in. And we are doing some very exciting things. We're working on expanding our agricultural industry and exporting coffee and tea. And expanding the power of the BJP Conservative Party in India. While occasionally practicing border raids with the Chinese and Pakistani governments. You should do a grand campaign with Persia with a new CK3 DLC. I do want to do a grand campaign as Persia at some point, but the next one, the poll has kind of already decided that. It's going to be starting in Britain. in we're going to be starting that grand campaign in the Fallen Eagle mod, so I think it's going to be the 476 start date. We're going to start in like post-Roman Britain in the southern region, so I think it should be pretty interesting. Tea production. Delving into our cherished tea estates, we aim to enhance our capacities while nurturing the enduring bond with the farming community. The general expansion of our infrastructure is a nod to the leaf that has brewed camaraderie through ages. These are very expensive focuses, though, I will say. The farmers love us, which is what we want. Look at that. Max factory bonus, tax cost reduction, max population. Oh yeah. The farmers love us. Yeah, they released Sanjing as an independent autonomous, what do they call it? As an SAR. It's also an ethnically hand state, though, so that's important to remember. Oh boy. Don't think too hard about what that is. Upgrading until... Thank you to follow. This is Zesty Potato. The music is dead. Alright, I need another soundtrack. I do East and West. Thank you to follow Finn Sunday. Search for it. East versus West soundtrack. That's from, again, East versus West soundtrack was a soundtrack made for a modern day game that Paradox started to make and then never completed. But it's a pretty good soundtrack and it fits Millennium Dawn pretty well, so I like to play it a lot. Yeah, this is the Millennium Dawn mod, Finn Sunday. It's a great mod. Major changes for the mod are energy systems, so you got to actually import and use energy systems to power your India, or else it does not work. Aircraft designer, helicopter designer. India got a new focus tree. Turkey got a focus tree. Germany, USA, Russia all got reworked focus trees, which are basically new ones. Naval changes. There's a few other things I'm missing. Bunch of other focus trees got made or overhauled for smaller countries. They have Venezuela in this one. I don't think they did. I think it's 1.9.2. No, they did. Okay, cool. There's another big mechanical change too. I don't remember what it was. Right, of course. Productivity system. So basically how competitive your economy is compared to the rest of the world. And then an unemployment system as well for the economy. I think those are all the big changes. I might be missing a thing or two. I refuse to play Imperator. I will not stream or make YouTube videos out of Imperator. Not after the way it was treated by Paradox. Never. You're not going to see an Imperator Grand Campaign. Iran does trade a good amount of goods with us, actually. We're going very capitalist and trying to maximize our exports, so sure, we'll make a trade deal with them. Why not? If they buy more of our goods, fine by me. How does China not just win? I mean, they get very strong in this game, but if you know what you're doing, you can easily outpace them. If you play the US, it's all about whether or not you can stop your stagnation or not. As other big majors, especially like India, now that they have a focus tree, you can outscale them if you build your economy correctly in your navy. Nepal does not have a focus tree, no. Yes, energy systems in the game. Renewable power plants, nuclear reactors, fossil fuel power plants, and then fuel will give you energy. You gotta maintain that balance. If it goes to zero, your economy will collapse and your stability goes like to almost zero. It's really bad. Turns out when people can't turn on the lights or, you know, have access to basic amenities, they get very angry. Yep. 100%. You just need a food system. You know, they've already kind of implemented one in Africa, I believe. I think Egypt has it. Let me check. Show you. Yep, agricultural system. This is in African countries only, not the rest of the world. I'm sure they plan to change it and add it, but yeah. If you play in Africa, you get access to the agricultural system, which is really important because almost all your economies are entirely agriculturally based, and you have to develop your economy off of it, which is really fun. I hope they expand the system and add it to the rest of the world, but we'll see. It's Raj, isn't it? I agree, Chris. I really like the system. I think they're not adding it to other countries because it will just continue to piss people off. One of the Millennium Dawn devs sent me a link to Tommy K's stream. I think like a week or two ago. Tommy K, he watched my like update video for 1.9 for Millennium Dawn, and then he was just like shit talking it because he's like, it's so complicated, you know, which there's a lot of players like that who they want HOI4, right? They want to just play the game and like right click their tank divisions, and they don't want to actually play with like more complicated mechanics, which I do understand, right? If you came here for a war simulator, this isn't what you want, right? You don't want these mechanics, but for a lot of people, it's really amazing. So, but I think the Millennium Dawn's devs know that like a lot of the player base doesn't want these things, so they have kind of balanced more complicated features versus like making it more approachable, you know, the game generally speaking, which is important to do, right? Not everyone wants an Excel spreadsheet simulator, which is arguably what the war system is, but it's a little bit easier to play it in a simple manner, you know? There's sometimes I just want to fucking fight a war in base HOI4, you know? But then there's sometimes I want to try and, you know, play out modern political geopolitics, right? So, to balance. Ukraine got a very small tweak to their focus tree, but they haven't had the overhaul yet. I think that's 1.10. Okay. The farmers fucking love us. Hell yeah. Tata Coffee and Tea. The collaborative venture from Tata heralds a new dawn of supportive policies for our agricultural heartlands. As we navigate through the realms of coffee and tea, this initiative fosters a harmonious relationship with small and medium business owners, nurturing a communal spirit of growth and shared aspirations. Population growth, resource gain efficiency, and small business owners and the farmers absolutely love us. Oh, yeah. More bonuses. My game doesn't feel like an office job when I don't want it. True. It is a balance. Depends what you want out of a particular playthrough, right? All right, we got to start caring about this. I am ignoring the commies a little too much here, so let's focus a bit more on them. Start sending the soldiers in. Chris, that DM you sent me is a really good idea. I didn't think about doing that. That's actually a very good idea. That is a very, very, very good idea. Yeah, given it's not like how we used to do them, that's completely doable, actually. That could be very fun. Hindus and Christians butt heads. This morning, a group of Hindus were outraged when Christians insulted a Hindu trying to convert the man. This was resulted in an all-out fighting over the two groups, and there have been several buildings set on fire because of it. Back to the Hindus, of course. Wait, fuck. Did I click the right button? I hope I did. I don't know. We're not going to increase corruption, and we're going to subsidize the large company that's gone bankrupt. Too big to fail. I am going to remove the industrial projects so we're not burning quite so much capital. And we are going to probably need to increase our tax rate again. Oh yeah. The population tax rate is so powerful for countries like India and China. Even a couple percentage increases to it is worth that stability hit. Like look how much of the deficit we got rid of just by a couple percentage increases. What's up, Scobie? It has been a very long time. How are you doing, man? We failed in our attack on the Maoists in the East. For that political power price, that's ridiculous. Go for GPRS. We need to import more oil. Office sectors employ the most people, so if you're trying to deal with unemployment in Millennium Dawn after 1.9, build office complexes. They employ more people, so it'll decrease your unemployment rate, and then they produce lots of money, so it will balance your budget. They're kind of the meta to build right now, honestly. How do you gain money without increasing pop tax or business tax? Build more buildings because you'll tax more from your current corporate tax rate as a whole. You could try and change your trade laws so that you make yourself more, countries more likely to trade with you. If you've never taken a look at the trade laws in Millennium Dawn, I recommend you do it. It's not like base game, they're a little bit different. Obviously, it's the same thing, right? So your law dictates what percentage of your produced resources from your provinces will go to being traded, but some of them actually make countries want to trade with you more, right? So for example, so my consumption economy gives a trade deal opinion factor. What that statistic means is it makes countries more likely to trade their goods with you or import goods or export goods to you versus someone else. So my consumption economy is kind of like the meta one to be on for trade laws, if we're being honest, but we start with it, so it's fine. Take a look at these. So trading your trade laws if they're not on a good one for exporting more, because you do gain income off of resources. Resource exports. Oil is what primarily gives the most. If you're not an oil producer, you're kind of fucked. But that will give you income. So keep an eye on that. Thank you for the follow, see ya. Other ways to gain income. Cuts. I mean, that doesn't gain money, but it kind of does the same effect, right? Cutting your... Bear with me. This is population based. Oh my God. Right, we're gonna have to reduce this. Administration is based off of your population, which I forgot about. I always just automatically max this out because I'm used to playing small countries, but it's based on our population. So this is costing us way too fucking much money. Bureaucratic increases are good because it gives you more political power, which is really important, but that's kind of almost breaking our economy. Not optimal. We're gonna stay on centralized bureaucratic state. I'm gonna increase the population tax rate, and then we'll have a surplus, so it's fine. But holy Christ, that's a lot. Yeah, we get a lot of cheap, shitty steel. Indian parliament attack. A suicide squad stormed India's parliament complex, killing 7 people before dying themselves in an unprecedented attack on the seat of power of the world's biggest democracy. Witnesses said 5 people stormed parliament, leaping from a car and attacking security guards after apparently driving into the complex using a fake pass. One of the intruders blew himself up at the main entrance of the parliament chambers. I heard a cracker-like sound near the entrance. There's some people running helter-skelter. Harbilan Sane, a parliament member, said outside of the Grand Sandstone Parliament designed by Sir Edwin Lutyens under British colonial rule. I saw many people firing at the same time. I couldn't make out who it was. I couldn't understand who the people firing at the same time. I couldn't make out who it was. One of the attackers died when he detonated an explosive strapped to his waist. The enemy prime minister, who was not at the complex at the time, went on television to say that India's battle against terrorism has reached its final stage. While his defense and interior ministers vowed a tough response, the Home Minister, L.K. Advani, said, "We will liquidate the terrorists and their sponsors, whoever they are, wherever they are." Initial speculation turned to Islamist militants fighting Indian rule in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, where 38 people died in a suicide attack on the state assembly 2 months ago. If confirmed, it would raise tensions with Pakistan, accused by New Delhi of sponsoring Kashmiri militancy. President Pervez Musharraf of Pakistan quickly condemned the attack and sent a message of sympathy to Mr. Vajpayee. Great. Fuck. Well, now we're going to go on our anti-terror offensive, I think. We'll increase police funding when we can. Let's also flex on the Pakistani border. Do training. We'll do artillery training, and we'll shell their border a little bit, just so they know what's up. We gotta have a strong response to Islamic terrorism here. We want to prioritize the Maoists too as well. They're not Muslims, so they wouldn't be hit under it, but you know, anytime there's a reactionary approach to anti-terrorism, just everyone gets prioritized. I know, Chris, but they're also terrorists, so they need to be dealt with too. All right, at that point, we are at the 3-hour mark, and I do have something I gotta go run and do tonight in around a half hour, so I am going to end the stream here. I didn't want to do a super long one today, but I didn't do the stream yesterday, and I really have been wanting to play the Indian Tree, so we'll continue this next Saturday morning, not on Sunday, and we will call it here. Let's see if there's anyone to raid. Let's see. Any interesting HOI4 streamers? We got someone playing some Millennium Dawn. He's doing a China game, I think. Zolta Central. We'll go shoot him a raid. Hopefully he's doing something fun and has a working microphone. You're going to keep watching some Millennium Dawn. He's playing China, which is a great country to play through. So hopefully that'll be entertaining. If not, I will be back next Saturday. We'll do more Millennium Dawn. India will continue this playthrough next Saturday morning at 10 a.m. EST. And then the Grand Campaign will undergo probably its last session in HOI4 as we continue the Third World War with the Japanese and the Communist Internationale next Saturday at 2 p.m. EST. Hope you guys have a good rest of your Sunday and a good week, and I will catch you later.